do it, but I'll be really fascinated to see how the likes of Gogolini and Rarely play it.
They were so patient yesterday as well, and so you definitely, Ina Tuber's definitely someone you don't want to play poker with, is she? In terms of when you look
That's
at.
a good way of putting it, though. It really was the perfect game of poker yesterday because, again, talking to Abby Mickey and Dijkman said yesterday after the stage that they didn't want to take the full responsibility. They didn't want to take up that chase unless they absolutely had to. And, you know, that's why we saw SD Works thinking, right, well, we can't leave it any later. And of course, they were pivotal in that chase eventually, but they weren't about to say, right, we're going to do all the work ourselves. And I think that that takes such strength of character for the whole team to come together and really, really hold your nerve. And I think that's something that we see in cycling is it's often having the confidence and the experience to hold your nerve, isn't it? Actually, there's so many times people could go for it and could go, right, we're going to chase, we're going to go hard, we're going to go for it, but actually reining yourself in and what you know you're capable of sometimes is the hardest thing to do, but the biggest element that actually pays off.
The peloton goes through 20 kilometres to go. We saw some great images there of Tuano, our beautiful town, perched up at Monte Castello, which is where we are heading today. We're in the province of Reggio Emilia, and they lead out for this final climb. And the run in towards this climb, it's around 12.5 kilometres in length, our final climb. And so the approach to it, all of the teams just trying to set things up. We've run into the climb. It's just very gradually up, as you can see, from our intermediate sprint point. And the road kind of narrows at about 15.5 kilometres to go, flattens up again about 15 kilometres to go. So we are going to have a big lead out. There's a left turn into the climb after quite a few roundabouts on the run-in, so we'll go across a bridge with about 12.5 kilometres to go, and then really start climbing sort of 2.5, 3.5%, and then with about 10% to go, we're up to sort of 8.5%. So this climb sort of goes up, has a few levels off in stages. There you can see that the profile, that's where we are on the route. So you can see we drop down after Albanea, and then it really just steadily climbs. We go up to Ponte Secchia there, where the sort of categorised part of the climb goes up. We have as well, when I was going through Veloview before, as we come up towards about 800 metres to go, we've got 12.5 kilometres to go, 12.5% on this climb, but there was a little bit, not for very long, that hit about 16%, with about 800 metres to go. So it is going to be a big climb. We were talking about teams and riders in where they are on the GC. Our breakaway riders here, 54 seconds, Elena Peroni and Sarah Roy. If you look down through the contenders, and we go back to the peloton here in the lead-out, Lizzie Dijkman straight down the centre here, Gaia Realini on the wheel, our Italian climber, Neve Bradbury right in the centre of the peloton there. You can see with those sort of seafoam blue arms on her jersey from Canyon SRAM. We were talking about her moments ago. We go down through the teams. Lotte Kopecky 4th at 19 seconds. Neve Fisher-Black 28th at 1:16. Neve Fisher-Black was a rider from SD Works that was instrumental in bringing back that breakaway yesterday. So she's at a minute 16. If we look at AG Insurance Sudal, the riders that we expect to be up there from them, Justin Kahira perhaps, Justin is 54th at 1:41. A lot of us very interested as well in Monica Trinca-Colonel from Team Bongiovanni. She's with us throughout the year. She's 59th at 1:47. The B-Pink rider climbing spectacularly. They're all outside about Alice Towers has taken a tumble. One of our TSM top riders has gone down. And unfortunately, Greta Martirano there wearing 87. Real shame as well.
Rimet completely off there, so can't do anything about that on her own without assistance.
It's got to be the doctor who's right there, and any rider that's hit their head or has got any kind of Minka hurts here. She's got to watch it. She's cut her face, so and this, if you're new to cycling, the doctor is there, the concussion protocols, anyone that's damaged their face or hit their head or anything like that will be fully checked out before they're able to continue.
It's so important.
Itanong-check ako ng 508 kung may gamit pa.
Now with Francie Koch on the right. Have you picked a Juliette Labousse in the French national champs jersey? We've got the Thibaut Blabarau Kusha Fondation Uskadi straight down the centre here in those lilac purple coloured jerseys. The pace is super high here. The lead out of the teams into the base of the climb. So you can see 3.9 kilometres to go to the categorised part of the climb, but we're already in this section here where we're starting to climb here. Roy on the front. Lidl Trek just on the left as you look at the peloton in those yellow, blue and red coloured jerseys. Elisa Longoborghini is our Maglia Rossa, but it is her young Italian teammate as well, the 23-year-old Italian. Gaia Realini 20th at a minute and 8. And if you look at our real climbers, me Fisher Black that we said at 1:16, Gaia Realini at a minute and 8. Great time trial for them. Sarah Roy pressing on here, just starting to distance Elena Peroni in our breakaway. The rider, looking at the GC, Cedrine Cabal for Sarah Tizzy WMT. Oh, unfortunately, another crash here. Julia Borgström, the Swedish rider. So they would see how fast this run is in towards the finish, and Borgström, unfortunately, has gone down. That's frustrating for Julia Borgström.
Yeah, this is a really difficult point, isn't it? We never want to see people come off. And just mentioning what you were touching upon before is we have had so many more discussions now around doing due diligence and checking head injuries and facial injuries, and I just can't say that enough, how we need to be making sure that the rider welfare is an absolute priority. And it's very, very difficult when a rider themselves wants to get straight back up and back into the race, of course, and not lose any opportunity in a stage race especially. But yeah, it's really important that we have the medical assistance right there to make sure that the riders foremost are back up and safe and as well as they possibly can be. But yeah, it's just a sign of how organised and fast it comes at the front to get the rider set up, to get the GC potentials in the right place for this climb, because if you're in the wrong side of that, that's when we start seeing the chaos in the bunch further back and that effect that you don't want to be a part of.
And if you're new to cycling, the reason why you see the riders jump up, you have to finish every stage to be able to start the next day. And this is the kind of chat around that sort of protocol in terms of, okay, because you have to finish in order to be able to start the next day in cycling. You know, it's instinct. Get back on your bike. Yeah. And so they are being looked after. We run in here onto the climb. Toto Magalas here for the B-Pink team. Our Queen of the Mountains leader. She will have some sore legs, I think, after her breakaway yesterday.
Yeah. What an effort, what a day.
This is just across the bridge that we were talking about. So this is where it starts to rise. You've got Sarai Paladin out of the saddle in the centre. Looking around the front here, Fem Van Empel from Visma Lisa bike. You can see the World Cyclocross champion in that bright yellow jersey. Fem Van Empel, quite interested to see what Fem can do in this race as well. So you can see there the gun under the banner. 15 kilometres to go. Labousse just being brought up by DSM Firmenich. Sarah Roy is still our lone leader. 22 seconds is the gap. Good to see Roy on the attack though for the team of Cofidis.
Yeah.
Roy taking her first victory for a while, stage of this year's Tour de Bretagne.
Yeah, she's absolutely committed here, isn't she? And that's all you can do at this point. Like, absolute commitment to this move. 22 seconds, but you can just see the gap tumbling down now. And I think that's a lot of us would have sat there and not predicted that over 2 minutes could be caught in the 10K, but actually actually, as soon as the absolute full commitment and intent was there to bring that gap down, it just absolutely tumbled. And that's what we're seeing here, is that although she's doing a mightily good job to keep that hovering around 20 seconds at the moment, but that's testament to how strong she is as a lone rider out there, and her experience in the world of cycling for many, many years now. But just look at the damage that is happening when you get those big teams drilling the front.
Grace Brown is that second wheel now for FDJ Suez. And I mean, if you look at that team, they've got Cecilia Ludwig that you would look at for the general classification. But if we look back to the Vuelta and those monster lead-outs that Grace Brown was doing for Evita Muzic, it's not outside the realms of reality. And Grace Brown has said herself, if she has a good climbing day, Grace Brown, she can get up climbs like this.
Yeah, and I think that is probably one of the biggest question marks, isn't it, looking on at this race, is you've got your absolute out-and-out pure climbers that you would say, right, here's who I'm going to sort of put my money on for today, so to speak. But actually, there's also really, really strong versatile riders that you cannot discount. And I think another rider is Kopecky. Like, how many times have we said, oh, she's absolutely not going to be up there, for example, on the Tourmalet, and then she just puts in the ride of a lifetime and is so much of an all-round talent now that she can win an out-and-out sprint, she can keep in contact on climbs. And yeah, Grace Brown, I was really, really surprised when she came out and said she was going to be retiring, actually. But I'm not pleased that we're going to lose her from the sport, but I'm so pleased that she gave such an honest account of how it's the right time for her. And I think it's really, really lovely to have people make those decisions so openly and say, right, it's the right time for me. And she's still evidently so at the top of her game, and she's been such a joy to have in this peloton. But what I think it is an indicator of is just how much she's going to go for it this season. And again, talking to a friend and colleague, Abby Mickey, she was saying in her audio diary yesterday that the plan very much was that they could do something and maybe launch a very late move, a late attack yesterday, but it was such a fast chase and run into the line and so hectic that they didn't have the opportunity to do that. But we know that team is firing on all cylinders, and you mentioned there Cecilia Ludwig. Again, I'm fascinated to see where she's at, because she's another very popular, very, very talented rider, but she's come back from such a huge injury that she picked up on Loop Newsblad in the beginning of the Classics season, and it's, you never want to have something that puts you out of a race, but to put her out at that point in the season, it was something we definitely didn't want to see. So to have her back in here at a pivotal point in the season is really exciting too.
So that was through across the bridge and up the climb. We're on the climb here, and Sarah Rogers still holding a very small gap. We're on to the categorised part of the climb. Micah van der Down looking back here for the team of Canyon Tram. It's fair to say they've been absolutely drilling it into this climb, and DSM Firmenich posting out for Juliette Labousse. Clearly the French champ, you can just see her in that tricolour jersey just behind the yellow here of Femme Van Empel, wants to go for it today. That pressure at the front will basically, the back doors are going to be open on this climb. The riders are going to be slipping off the back. It is Femme Van Empel, the world cyclocross champion, that goes on the attack here at the bottom of the climb. Van Empel, you've got to say, one of the most exciting riders in the world, relatively new to road racing. Here's Chantal van der Broek-Black, the newly crowned Dutch champion in that red, white and blue jersey. Good to see her back in there, coming back into racing after the birth of her first child and going straight back in and winning the Dutch Marathon.
This is one of my favourite topics. You have to rein me in because, we need to talk about what's happening right now. It's absolutely exploding. But to come back from having her first child and to not actually, because she announced her retirement, didn't she? Then had an opportunity with all the support from the team to come back, and now she's national champion. Just love her, love her.
Chiara Consoni here, just cooling down.
And her joy yesterday, Consoni, when she took that victory, her energy is infectious, isn't it, Martin?
Oh, yeah. Chiara Consoni don't ever change. Because that is exactly what she is like. When you meet Chiara, it's the way she is.
What you see is what you get.
That effervescent personality is what Chiara is like. Canyon SRAM are on the front here as they keep the power on. for, you would say, Neve Bradbury and Antonia Niedermeyer. What a great combo that they've got. Sally Chabet is that second wheel. Niedermeyer is in the white jersey you're watching out for today. Lizzie Deignan, fourth in line here with Elisa Longoborghini and that Maglia Rosa right on the wheel. Here comes Niedermeyer in the white jersey on the pink bike on your left of your picture as you look at them. Up to the wheels now of the teammates of Canyon SRAM. Chabet comes through. Paladin's job is done here for the Canyon SRAM team. Brody Chapman moving up in the yellow, blue and reds. That red helmet for Lidl Trek, La Bousse. That's familiar style now of the newly crowned French national champion. If you were with us for that, what a great national championship that was. Guy Rarlini, you can see for Lidl Trek, got the peak of the cap up.
I love that. It's like a little signature, isn't it? But you can just see, with the pressure on the front from Canyon SRAM, the damage this has done behind. When we only get sights on that front group, it's one thing, but then you start to look down the field, and these gaps are already starting to just absolutely blow apart.
Alex Santesteban for Laboral, unfortunately going backwards. The Spanish rider you would have expected to be one of their riders that they would be watching out for in this one. Elise Chabet, unfortunately, just dropping the bottle. Oh, easy, Tiger. Unfortunately, Antonia Niedermeyer, good save there by Niedermeyer, just bouncing over the bottle. And unfortunately, a water bottle like that, when you hit it, we've said it before, so apologies if it bore you, but the tops don't pop off bottles anymore because they're screw tops. So if you hit
I
a bottle,
love your detailed bags.
Yeah.
I do enjoy them.
looking down the group, Kopecky is right there, the rainbow jersey of the world champion. A lot of people interested to see what Kopecky can do in this one. Los Aragonese just starting to get distanced off the back here. Aragonese starting the day in 8th at 38 seconds. Then Van Empel after that attack, just giving Aragonese here a tap on the hip to ride back through. So that little attack by Van Empel has distanced her out of the group. Have a little look around. Maddie Garcia, you can see right in the centre of the group. You're watching out for Garcia now in the Liverlula Jayco jersey. Her Spanish title moving over to, so a great ride. We saw Ostolaza of Laboral Coche Fondation. I'm really interested to see what Ostolaza does in this race in terms of the newly crowned Spanish champ. Maybe top 10, you never know. She's been on great form, and we've been looking so much with this Laboral team in terms of Annie Santesteban, but the new Spanish hope, you would say, is saw Ostolaza 56th at 144. Canyon SRAM really setting their stall out though on the front, and the damage being done by Canyon SRAM. You can see Elise Chabet after that first move done at the bottom. The climb shredding this peloton.
Yeah, that's a good term, isn't it? Absolutely shredding it. Kopecky looking very comfortable at the moment, and again, just seeing more and more riders drop off that pace at the back now.
Eleonora Chiabocco here just getting distanced. The road picks up, and this is quite how this climb goes. It looks like a sort of climb, sort of rhythmically. There's these little steep little ramps that we'll have on the climb. Just as we go down through the group, Sanakats.
This is what's great though about the technology that we do have to hand now. I know you always do such a good recce on Velo Viewer. If it's a road that you haven't ever sighted in real life, for example, you can really see it. And I think that's a tool that the riders use in team meetings so much now, isn't it? Because I think as accurate as a road book tries to be, like you mentioned earlier, sometimes there is just a little section that you can't really fully appreciate just from looking at it written down on paper. So when we actually look at it, it's pivotal.
Grace Brown just starting to get dropped now, second on GC at a second. We said at the bottom if she had a big climbing day that she could potentially try and save that GC position, but it's not to be today for the Aussie under the pressure of Canyon SRAM on the front, just putting Grace Brown into difficulty and sliding off the back. This is Clara Emmond here, the Canadian of EF Oakley Cannondale. Chabe did a great job on the front. We're looking around. Garcia is still there. Kim LaCourt a little bit further down. Group Paulina Royackers out of the saddle on your left there in that green jersey. With the jersey open. This is Rosita Reinhardt here for the team of Bismarck Lisa Bike, who's just starting to get distance. Edwards has to pull the plug as well on the right there in the orange and purpley colours of Human Powered Health. We were interested to see what Reed Edwards could do in the mountains. He's hanging on here to 8.5 kilometres to go. There's a lot of chat going on around the front of this peloton. So if you are just getting on board today for the first time, it is the first summit finish of the Giro d'Italia women. We headed from Sabioneta up to Toano, 12.5 kilometre climb, a summit finish, the first of quite a few summit finishes in the Giro d'Italia Donne. But you would say, when you look back through the last few years of this race, as Brody Chapman, third on GC, gets distance for Lidl Trek, 13 seconds down at the start of the day. But there is a opportunity in this Giro we have not for, you would probably say, since 2016 when Megan Granier won, we haven't had a general classification this open in a very long time.
No, we haven't. Looking back down the rankings, it's a lot of Annemiek van Vleuten who really dominated this race, but also Anna van der Breggen. And I can't believe that she's now announced she's coming back to the peloton. I mean, what an exciting and unexpected announcement. After being so pivotal as a DS, going straight into that role with SD Webb, she's now coming back. But yes, this race is more open, arguably, than it's ever been this year.
It is, there is that big opportunity. Yeah, Anna van der Breggen is coming back next season, and what's going to be interesting is she will be going with Dami Vollering heading to Pastures New. We're going to have van der Breggen and Vollering up against each other next year, so that is something to behold. It is a huge opportunity, though, for our rider in the map. Just down the back of the group, Sadrine Cabal is here. Then you've got Silke Schmolders is still there. Laura Asensio is still here. Nicola Noskova for the team of Cofidis.
Yeah, Sadrine Cabal, for anyone that, well, most people will have watched Wimbledon, but anyone who didn't, took the white jersey, young rider classification in Tour de France FAM avec Zwift last year. And I feel like she's a bit of an unsung hero sometimes. I think she's just been quietly there, or thereabouts, so consistently. And yeah, she's just at the back of this front group.
Lossa Kopecky.
Ano balita doon sa
in our rainbow jersey, and just sat alongside Kim LaCourt, whose national champs jersey of Mauritius is quite similar to the rainbow jersey. It's got all the
Tura mo lang, kay pa mo lang.
Things to look out for now, haven't we?
Elisa Longa-Borghini has finished second on general classification in this race. So 60th Maglia Rosa, you can see there for
Hindi ako pala. Ano, yung available natin yung level.
nation to reach this
Tipan mo
milestone.
lang para wala ka lang.
We now sit at 99. 60th Maglia Rosa for the Netherlands arrived on the Montison
Hindi
Clan
ako
in
buti ba? Tabingan mo lang. Ano yun, pangakumatin.
Chabe on the front.
Uy, muna yung
back
baba.
down through the group. Longa-Borghini looking
Ito yung
comfortable.
baba niya.
Peter Vries
Lahat na
here
yung-
in the yellow Abysmal Lisa bike. A new signing into that team from GT Crush Rebelles. Made quite an impact in Tour de Suisse. This is Paulina Royackers wearing 81 in the green and
Uy, yan.
Felix Koenig, unfortunately.
Wala din.
Realised those 20 seconds into
Sige
the
sa
time
Florida.
trial. There's
Sige
Maddie
sa
Garcia
Florida.
wearing
Sige, babaw
31,
niyan.
the Fisher Black wearing 3.
O tara,
Rita
baka na.
Schipper is a little bit for one of the other AG.
Ang gamitin mo na yung pinakakwarto mo. Huwag na yung binili natin para dito. Huwag yung pinakakwarto mo.
Jersey, Monica
Ganda ng baseball.
Cornell, the rider from BP that we are so interested
Hindi ba, bawal mo
to
naman.
see how she
Hintayin kita sa labas.
rides in this one.
You know, going back to that time penalty, it's heartbreaking for a rider, isn't it? But it's part of the rule book, and she's got penalised for Yeah, but ultimately something that went against the team that day. And as an individual rider, yes, she took that time penalty. But yeah, I can imagine was a little bit frustrated at the end of the day. But Elise Shabby, let's talk about just how incredible she is. Absolutely dragging this whole group on the front. So rock steady. So just experienced, calm, strong. And something that I always like to mention in case people don't know just how amazing she is. She is a doctor, and during the COVID pandemic, she actually went back into the front line of the NHS and worked to save many, many lives. And now she's come back into the peloton and does this. I just think she's wonderful. And it looks like that Sadrine Cabal has just gone off the back of this group, unfortunately, losing contact.
It is the Swiss rider, the former Swiss champ in Elise Shabby, that is doing the work on the front. 6.6 kilometres to go here, up to Toano. Mavi Garcia looking comfortable there for Livalula Jaco. Juliet Labou still in here. Amalia Rosa of Elisa Longa Borghini with her teammate Gaia Realini right on the wheel. Laura Asensio wearing 43 from Ceratizzi WNT's. A great ride. As the Livalula Jaco rider Silke Schmolders. Another great ride here from Schmolders today. Unfortunately, took a tumble in the intermediate individual time trial on day one.
Yeah, they've had a bit of bad luck as a team. Yesterday they would have very much liked and hoped to set up Ruby Roseman Gannon for that sprint. She's been on really fine form this year. And she punctured in the run-in, so I've heard, into the sprint. So that put them out of the chances of that bunch sprint.
So Malcotti, Barbara Malcotti still in here. There's Realini. So just looking down through the group, Deborah Silvestri still in there as well. Mavi Garcia now on the front. Nicola Noskova still in there for Cofidis, but it is Garcia that is on the front. From Kim Lacourt of the AD Insurance Sidal team. Job done, you would say, by Elise Shabby. So looking down through your group, Garcia, Decourt, Bradbury, Niedermeyer, Labous in that French camp's jersey, Neve Fisher Black, Paulina Royackers, Elisa Longa Borghini, Femke de Vries, Silke Schmolders is battling to try and stay on the back of the group. Laura Asensio just ahead of her for Ceratizzi WNT, doing one of the best rides that we've seen on a mounted top finish from her. Is that Claire Steels that might just starting to be getting distance on the back for the team of Movistar.
Yeah, there's riders, in this peloton that would have known, wouldn't they, looking at the gradient of this final, I'm going to do my job very much as far as I can, and I know that I'm going to lose contact, but there's some riders here that have just been desperately hoping to stay on for this final summit finish, and we're just seeing one after one those, distances made at the back of this pack.
Claire Steele's just getting distanced. Has come back from injury this season as Claire Steels. And it is Mavi Garcia that is doing the damage on the front of the group.
I just keep looking at the face of Neve Bradbury and just how comfortable she looks on a climb like this.
Katrina Arlerud there in the red and yellow for Uno X Mobility. A little bit further down through the group. There's Kim Lacourt, that's second wheel, as we said. It looks like a bit of a rainbow jersey, her national champs jersey. This is Barbara Malcotti. Unfortunately, Malcotti, though, riding well into this climb today for the team of Human Powered Health. Look how small the group is becoming under the pressure of Mavi Garcia. Livalula Jaco's the Spanish rider, Mavi Garcia on the front, just time trialing her way up this mountain. There's Nicola Noskova, Laurie de Schepper, Murray Meyering, Monica Trinker-Colonels, we got through the group, Cecilia Tripp-Ludwig, Deborah Silvestri, Katrina Arlerud, Paulina Royakas, Lotte Kopecky still there in that rainbow jersey, Femke de Vries, and then in front of her, Realini, Longo Borghini, Fisher Black, Labuse, Bradbury, Niedermeyer, all the way back up towards the front, Noskova for Kofidis, just as well with 5 kilometers to go. Just losing a little bit of distance off the back. As you can see, there's been a bit of an acceleration now at the front.
Yeah, you could just see the impact that had once again on the back of the group, couldn't you? And the ability to do this, to be like a metronome on the front of the front pack like this, to put so much hurt into every one of your rivals behind, it's quite staggering. Again, I'm talking about how Neve Bradbury looks so comfortable there, but look at Mavi.
It's good to see Mavi Garcia on climbing on such good form. Took the stage in the general classification in Andalusia. Recently, the team really dominating that race. And this is the sort of position that Mavi likes to be in, to be able to just sit on the front here and just set that tempo.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the psychology and the ability of a rider, is some people like to very much be in control and to actually take it on from the front.
Alicia Maria Arzufi just starting to drift off the back, but another great climb from the Italian today to be in the mix at this point. Look at the acceleration of the Spanish rider, who just has a glance back over the shoulder just to see what sort of damage that she's doing, and the answer is quite a lot.
Quite a lot.
She shredded the group down even further as Kim LaCour just gets distanced off the back.
Yeah, you could just see, couldn't you, that Mavi Garcia just inject a little bit more pace and then it starts splintering yet again. It's just absolutely attritional, whittling this group down now.
Colonel, LaCour, Silvestri, Murray Myring and Femke de Vries in this little group here of 5 riders just ahead. So your order from the front, Garcia, Bradbury looking comfortable, the 2 young Canyon SRAM riders, the white jersey in this race of Antonia Niedermeyer, the world under-23 time trial champion. Neve Bradbury came into this race last year as the protected rider from Canyon SRAM after finishing 10th on GC the year before. It didn't quite go her way, but we have to kind of remember that Neve had broken wrist at the beginning of last season as well, and this year the young Aussie has taken huge strides in terms of general classification. Cecilia Tripp-Ludwig here, coming back from that big crash in Umla Pet Newsblad earlier on in the season. So sort of a big test for Cecily in this one. 4th on GC in 2020. Queen of the Mountains that year as well. So it's a real sort of test bed, this race, you would say, for Cecilia Tripp-Ludwig.
It really is. As we mentioned before, you know, she came into the season. We were so excited, as we always are, to see where she was at and what she could do. She took her stage of the Tour Down Under. She started in such fine form. And then she had a fracture of her sacrum in Omloop Het Nieuwsblad. And it's just at that point when the season's just starting to get going, to know that you've got to quite literally sit it out for quite a long time. And it's been a really long recovery. It wasn't a small injury, was it, for her? It was really, really huge to come back from. But look at her up here. It just is testament to the rider she is. And, you know, physically, mentally, she's back in here.
But also Lotte Kopecky, the world champion. The Giro is where we really saw the kind of evolution of Lotte Kopecky. Lotte Kopecky 2.0 won a stage there, and that was where we really sort of won a bunch sprint there. But then if you look at where she's grown and where she's developed as a rider, that ride in the yellow jersey in Tour de France Femme avec Zwift last year, the climb to UAE early on in the season to take that one. You know, as a track rider, when you look at Kopecky, look at Geraint Thomas, look at Bradley Wiggins, look at those sort of riders, you know, it's not, you know, the sort of ability and physiology that the track gives you is a good reason why Lotte Kopecky can climb the way she is. Katrina Arlerud, unfortunately, just getting distance here for the Team Uno X. What a mighty ride today, you would say, from the Spanish rider Mavi Garcia on the front to take it down to what is a really select group. The rider that interests me as well is the rider second from the back, wearing number 13, the 18-year-old Belgian Laurie de Schepper. We're talking about the world champion in Lotte Kopecky, 18 years old, winner of Chambéry this year. She won the sprints, Queen of the Mountains, 5th on GC, and Gracia all over as well this season. So she's an interesting rider. Uttrup Ludwig just battling here is Cecily Uttrup Ludwig. Ahead of her, Antonia Niedermeyer is on the back. Under the pressure here of Maddie Garcia, who accelerates yet again with 3 kilometers to go.
Yeah, you could just see Maddie's stature on the bike, just how, like, her body language, it's so steady, as I mentioned before. But the way she just injects the pace, and you can see the riders having to just try and get back on top of that increase, and just all over the bike. But she's just so calm when she makes these, not even a move, she just increases it.
I'll be interested to see what Antonia Niedermeyer now does, because she's got back in there, and historically we know she might try something. Because Antonia doesn't need, we kind of know her in terms of how much recovery that she can sometimes take. And Cecily Uttrup Ludwig in the red and blue just in the background, trying to get back in here. 2.6 kilometers to go to the top of the climb. As you can see, it's a fairly fast climb today in terms of tempo. Will Cecily now just take this moment just to recover? If she can get to the top of this one with in contention, Lotte Kopecky is going to feel that she could take this one, and she's just gone straight past through. Cecily Uttrup Ludwig gets back on.
Yeah,
Goes on the attack. Best form of defence sometimes.
Yeah, it is. And I was just going to say, you were talking about Lotte Kopecky and her sheer ability and, well, absolutely everything. But on the velodrome, on the track, it's all about injecting pace, recover, inject the pace, recover, make a move, go again. And actually, like you said, if you've got the ability, like Cecily, just to ride yourself on when there's a slight lull, and you're a rider that can make that recovery and go again, you know, versus someone that is more metronomic and just has to sort of sit at one pace, actually, it's not game over.
Maddie Garcia attacks,
Wow.
and look at the acceleration of Maddie Garcia. It levels off here to about 1.5%. 4% it flattens out. It's Niamh Fisher-Black that goes off in chase now of Maddie Garcia, because this is a good point to go. Paulina Royackers on the front, and Maddie Garcia starting the day 32nd at a minute and 20 to Elisa Longo Borghini. So some time to make up. Niamh Fisher-Black starting the day 28th at a minute and 16. But Maddie has been the rider that has been responsible for just decimating this peloton on the climb here on stage 3 of the Giro d'Italia. And Niamh Fisher-Black, the New Zealander from Team SD Works, and now gets up on to the wheel of Maddie Garcia. Fisher-Black was the rider that did the damage on the Cap 4 climb yesterday to bring things back together. Your group here, Realini, Kopecky, Labuse, Uttrup Ludwig, Royackers, De Schepper, Bradbury, Niedermeyer and Longo Borghini is your Chetty's group at 13 seconds. Already the gap from Fisher-Black and Garcia.
Yeah, to do what Maddie Garcia was already doing, to put that amount of hurt into everybody, but then to just pounce off the front like that and so quickly get that gap is quite staggering. But Niamh Fisher-Black of SD Works, we saw her take that time gap tumbling from about 2.5 minutes within 10k, and she did a huge amount of that work pivotally on that final climb yesterday, the second of that circuit. But you could just see she jumped straight on that. That was no small feat to get across to Garcia there, but she did it, and she's just incredible. But you can see Guy Realini now for Lidl Trek on the front of that group, because of course on the back of that group is our current race leader in pink, Elisa Longo Borghini.
1 kilometre to go. Niamh Fisher-Black here for the team of SD Works. 4 pro wins, 5th and twice 9th overall in the Giro. Maddie Garcia, you would say, one of the most experienced now, 40 years old, 16 victories as a pro in Maddie Garcia, and you can see just how quick this approach is. It does get steeper as we go up towards the summit. Plenty of switchbacks here. As Niamh Fisher-Black now attacks Maddie Garcia. It looks, is it going to be today a win as we get through these really steep sections of the climb? It kicks up 12.5%, but Niamh Fisher-Black now romping away on this climb. Maddie Garcia A huge ride by the Spanish rider today to just blow this race to bits. But Niamh Fisher-Black, she missed out on a Giro stage win in 2020 where she was just pipped to the line. It was a sprint between her and Evita Muziek, and Fisher-Black, a rider that we have watched just grow in confidence and stature on our screens over the last 4 years, is now putting in a big ride here to ride towards her first ever Grand Tour stage win. Sprinting now up towards the top. She's also looking to try and take as much time as she can out of the riders behind. It is the Giro d'Italia women, and it is a moment that we have been waiting for. It is now a ride, a mighty performance from the SD Works rider, Niamh Fisher-Black, and she'll now see that finish line just ahead of her. She's pulling on the line, 150 metres to go. She's got her teammate Lotte Kopecky behind her. It is the moment. It is time to sit up and take the salute. Niamh Fisher-Black in the Giro d'Italia women. Fisher-Black takes it for SD Works in New Zealand. It is going to be a 1-2 for SD Works. Kopecky, Labous and Longo Borghini follow her across the line. Mami Garcia unfortunately getting caught just inside of the line. What a ride!
Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Niamh Fisher-Black just played that to perfection, but again, showing, have to say it, the dominance of SD Works taking all 1-2. Yesterday we saw her do so much work, pivotally on that final climb to set up Kopecky to go for the sprint in the finish, and now she set it up for herself. She saw the danger in that move from Mami Garcia. She closed down that gap, made it look effortless, but this will be such an emotional win for her. This will mean so much.
23 years old, congratulated by the other Niamh. They're good friends, Niamh Fisher-Black and Niamh Bradbury. But what a day, as we've said. We have watched this young rider come through. It was the 9th stage of the Giro d'Italia in 2020 where she sprinted out. She was in the breakaway with Evita Muziek. And what a ride. Look at this. This is the moment. Mami Garcia, what a ride she has put in today into the steepest sections of the climb. And the New Zealander goes.
You could just see that little look back, couldn't you? Is this the moment? Is this the moment that I'm going to take the victory? And she committed and she knew. And look at her just all the way to the line to secure that.
And there's her teammate in the background, and Fisher-Black does her GC contention. No harm at all, 10 bonus seconds on the line. And hats off to SD Works Pro Time in recognising the talent of this young rider and just bringing her on and developing her. What a moment. Massive hug from Lotte Kopecky behind. It is another 1-2 for SD Works Pro Time. Niamh just trying to recover here, and the talent coming out of New Zealand as well. It's Kiwis all the way today. And there's your top 10. Niamh Fisher-Black takes it ahead of Lotte Kopecky, Juliette Labous, Elisa Longo Borghini, Roy Akers, Garcia losing 12 seconds in that run to the line. Bradbury, Uttrup Ludwig, Niedermeyer and Kim LaCourt. What a climb as well. Recovery there from Kim LaCourt to come through there in 10th place. The day, though, belongs to the rider from Nelson in New Zealand. Niamh Fisher-Black takes the stage. What a ride. What a climb. Oh, it's fairly exciting.
It was rather fairly exciting, wasn't it? What I love is seeing the momentum of Lotte Kopecky's hug in slow-mo as we saw her repeat across the line there. Like, you can just see that true happiness in the team, and it's so important.
Very patient, though, as well. If you look at the way Niamh approached this summit, so patient in terms of she knew exactly where she wanted to go.
I think that's something we've spoken about in terms of riders and teams looking on the likes of Velo Viewer to see exactly what's coming up, or indeed already having done a recce and understanding of exactly what's coming up and knowing your strengths as a climber. And as you say, yeah, she just picked the perfect time, and you could just see those kick-ups in gradient there, and that was damage done.
It is indeed 5th win as a pro. And just powering away here. So Team SD Works row down the challenge here on the stage. And as Becca said, the momentum of the finish hug from Lotte Kopecky. But there you have it. We've waited a while in the Giro since we first saw her arrive on the scene. It's Lee Fisher-Black.
And 72 riders of the Tour de France are on the way, all practically correct in the commentary box. Joining Rob Hatch, it's Mr. Sean Kelly. And Sean, I'm looking, I'm watching, and rather like the other sprint stages so far, I'm not sure if I'm seeing an early breakaway today.
Well, I think it was going to be a day where we will see this, where it's controlled by the sprinter teams, and when you look at the route we have got today, as we've seen some days in this race, teams are thinking, well, not much of an opportunity here to go all the way, and you can see immediately not any action from kilometre zero. So it's a day where the sprint teams and all people talking about it looks like it's going to be a day for the sprinters. But in that final we could see some more wind blowing up, and in the final more, so the final 60-70 kilometres, that's where it could get quite hectic. If the wind gets up and it's in direction that it can make the race very nice.
The forecast is for the wind to increase in potency as the afternoon goes on. The direction should be more or less right. This is a town that we've visited several times in cycling. You as well, Sean, in Paris as well. You've been there as a commentary team in the last few years. The Tour was here 11 years ago, and on that day, it's Alberto Contadore's team splitting it in the crosswind for the GC, taken advantage of by a brilliant Mark Cavendish, who was able to beat Peter Sagan. Today, we could see the same today, but we forecast very briefly again. I don't think it was the most difficult thing to forecast no breakaway at the start today.
No, it's an interesting one. If you were a betting man, well, you would bet against the all-action-packed start of the stage here because of the situation. We can see, immediately not any takers really, and a lot of more opportunities to come, I suppose. And when you consider what they've been through as well in that first week of racing, although they're coming over a race day, if it was a day where there was some opportunity for the breakaway to go all the way, we would have seen a lot of action. But unfortunately, they know, and they've got that feeling as well, any opportunity for the sprint teams to control here, they will do that. And we're getting to a point now where some of the sprint teams haven't got that victory, so it's going to be more crucial again that they keep it together and get it down to a sprint here. And that's what we're seeing on our screens at the moment, and it's going to be one of those days where it's going to take a bit of time to light up. Let's hope the wind bundles get up in the final. We'll have a hectic final once again.
Well, before we get there, there is plenty to talk about. Of course, we've got quite a bit of housekeeping to do, starting with that shocking injury for Alex Lasso. I don't know if anybody's seen the pictures of the bike over on social media, and it was split into 4 or 5 pieces. At the time, we were questioning the wisdom of this continuation in the race. Of course, not medical professionals, so our questions aren't always valid. But having heard stories of vomiting on the way back into the end, could have been suffering from the pain, could have been a head problem as well, but certainly a body blow for the team too, and we wish Alexander Vlasov all the best with his broken ankle. He's only one man less now for Primož Roglic. He's in conversation with Jan Tratnik. Now he's rumoured to be joining him next year at the Red Bull Forum. So then, stage just starting. What do our experts think is going to happen?
Well, on stage 9, only Steve Chanel scored some points after having picked Tom Pidcock second on the stage. French expert moved up to third, tallying 88, but Bobby Traxel still in the lead with 100 notes. Roberto said, my favourite for today's stage is Jesper Philipsen. He's experiencing a bit of a difficult start to the tour, but he's always been there on the sprints, even if he hasn't got a stage win. But he has come here with a clear goal. That's to get stage victories and fight for green. It's complicated, but I think today Jesper Philipsen will take the stage win. Bobby Traxel currently just at the day after the rest day is always tough. Now we're already in the 10th stage of the tour, and it's going to be a sprint. A long day, hopefully with a breakaway, but the winner will be Groenewegen. Groenewegen will take his second victory of the Tour de France with the red, white and blue and celebrate with his hands in the air.
Stage 10 will be won by Dylan Groenewegen from Jaco Alula. I know I'm last in this game, but I've been a bit of a topic. Rumors have told me that my good friend Bobby Traxel, who is I follow your lead, Dutch domination, and Dylan Groenewegen.
Well, Steve, yes, all of Coast Cab and have remained faithful to Gourmet.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Anthony Mgirmay now has a 96 classification. Great opportunity for 70 points max today to be picked up, by the way. And you can see that Astana Kazakhstan are ready and looking for more in terms of control. There is Mark Cavendish to the front. That's a continuation of the rest day for now. Sean Kelly, how was your rest day?
Very nice. After the grabber rolls, I needed a rest day because that, the tension was there all day. There was no point at all during the full stage. You could relax and, have a chat like we're seeing here for the riders. So, yeah, nice to have a rest day and get out the bike a bit because always needs to do with the bike. And when you're talking about it, some people think when you talk about the Tour of France for 3 weeks, it's going to keep you in good shape. But you have to get in your bike and you have to pedal yourself, otherwise you're going to lose it all.
Feels seen. Jonathan, what were you doing on the rest day?
I was working, so no real rest day for me. Doing an Olympic promo for Eurosport, which was a very, very interesting one, which I think we'll be going to at some stage today, which will bring everyone up to date with, well, what is now 17 days to go until the Olympic Games.
Well, you're watching on the home of the Olympics, of course, and on the home of cycling. If you've missed anything in the last week, the latest Gruppetto is out. We've got a very, very quick recap on the Eurosport Cycling YouTube. I spoke to Matt Stevens for about 20 minutes yesterday, and he was waxing lyrical about Beam, about Cavendish. He's done his coffee routine, how he managed to get by the what he thought were pretty poor coffee machines on the road. He's on the motorbike today, and we'll hear from Matt throughout the day. If you want to see his chat after the stage, you can go to the Eurosport Cycling YouTube channel. And if you want to re-watch any of those moments from last week, the last few kilometres of each stage are up there, as well as daily highlights. And you can hear their questions on Eurosport Discovery Plus, live and on demand, each and every stage. But here, and at the Giro d'Italia.
Oh.
Welcome back, everybody. Omar Bardet will be looking to take it easy today because tomorrow is a huge day in his whole career. Yes, he took the yellow jersey on day one here, but this is his final tour, and tomorrow he's on home roads. He's racing the massive champagne. There's the Claddock and Inigo in conversation. And Inigo, well, he was the subject of a lot of conversation, certainly in declarations post-race the other day by the Hazel Gutschak. and Glencoe Evenepoel. Sean and Daniel with me to talk about this. I'd love to get both of your insight and opinion as to what happened, because yes, you can understand the frustration for Pogacar, and particularly Evenepoel, because Roglic was distanced and Evenepoel wants the podium, doesn't he, here? There was a real chance to put time into Roglic the other day in a split. But I think on the other hand, you can also understand exactly where Evenepoel's coming from.
I can
He's
totally
getting
understand.
into this, isn't he? And he's getting to his terrain. He said at the end, I took 7 minutes in 2 days in the mountains last year. Maybe I can do it again.
He took 1 minute 40 in the time trial alone, so of course he wasn't going to work on that gravel day, and we discussed this in the breakaway. We had a situation where the three of them were up the road and Vingegaard was somewhat neutralising this move. Remco was aggressive. He wanted to go all the way to the line. He could have put more time, like you said, Rob, into himself and Roglic. But ultimately, for Jonas, he had the best classics team in that race. He was going to always ride aggressively. He had more to lose than gain. And putting himself in that position was isolating him. Even if he had gone to the line with those two, then he would have lost time in the bonus seconds. There was also a situation where he was with his teammate Jorgensen and Tadej Pogacar, and people say, well, he could have been your bodyguard, then you weren't isolated. But even then, if they had come to the line, he would have lost those bonus seconds. So absolutely job done for Visma, yes, on the gravel day. They did the perfect execution of tactics there, and they'll be really happy with where they are.
Sean, how did you see it?
Well, I think Vingegaard worked the job really well. You know, coming back after the long time out, he just needs more time to get into the race, and I think he's hoping the final week that he will be just better as the race go on. And if that's the situation, well then, play the cards, just do not ride with the others, wait for your team as you did on Sunday.
Right, just pulling alongside the EF Education Easy Post team car, and I think I woke Charlie McGuinness from asleep. Charlie, what? A kind of steady opening UK.
Yeah, you know what they say, the wise sleep when they can and the fools sleep when they must.
I love that, I love that. I mean, how do you think it's going to unfold today? It's one of those days where you can't really fall asleep, isn't it? An easy couple of opening days, but with the crosswinds later, everybody's got to watch out.
No, I mean, obviously the first part of the race is pretty well covered in pretty thick forest, but everybody knows that the race and the scenery will open up later, and I'm sure there'll be chances to speed up there, and that's probably why things are the way they are now, because people know what's coming.
And what about the weather forecast, Lee? We've got a warning, it could be storms with about an hour to go.
Yeah, so you can see it bubbling up now. Typically when that happens just before there's more wind.
Thanks, Charlie.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Matt. Charlie McGuinness. You didn't factor in storms later,
No, and it's just going to add, isn't it, to the nervousness of this peloton. Clearly not nervous at the moment, absolutely no stress whatsoever. Mark Cavendish here, he's won here before, and we were also talking about how, you know, his psychology works in remembering every single day in the past, and that's going to definitely be advantageous for him in the final. But it's going to build, isn't it, all day as we get closer and closer to the finish, those exposed sections, and if there's storms, it's just going to add to that. So if there's a breakaway, it's going to make it really, really hard for them to stay away, because naturally in the peloton behind, it's going to get quicker and quicker all day. EF, though, I thought was so impressive. Ben Healy especially, you know, those kind of final few days where he tried and tried and tried again, and then on that gravel day coming so close. But I think it just shows what a fighter he is, and he's definitely going to have more opportunity within this tour.
Fred Wright and Ben Turner having a chat there. Of course, the laughing and joking returning, Sean, about getting organised and getting up the road.
No chance. I don't think there's anybody going to be wanting to push on here. They're going to use this part of the parcours as much as possible and get an easy as ride as possible. And as we heard from Charlie Willigas there, you know, they know that this is the road we're on here. Very, very sheltered, dense forest, and it's late in the day, and there's a lot of time to get ready for that. And talking about the running here, I think, you know, Mark Cavendish, I don't know if it sells a lot of the knowing the running because everybody knows so well and they scrutinise so much. You know, they watch all these videos and you know they talk about it so much within the teams that need to talk about that have got sprinters here. It's all about the complicated running, and this is a very complicated one in the final here with you know the way it turns after a kilometre to go. It is going to be majorly important that you can keep a real good position inside that final kilometre. And before that, of course, to be in that situation. So teammates around you, it could be the winning of the stage here today. If you have a number of teammates from a team able to stay with you. So that will be very important. But for the moment, the rider, that's a long way down the road. And I'm not thinking about that for the moment. But they will be reminded, they'll be focused on that as we get closer to the finish when we get inside that final 60, 70 kilometres to go. That's 10.
I think as well the intermediate sprint
Nakauwi na kasi Kuya Ariel.
will be an important one. We're talking about coming out of a rest day and how everyone's feeling, and some people will come out of it absolutely flying and feeling on top of the world, and then for other riders and their bodies, maybe they've got it a little bit wrong. Their body might have gone into kind of recovery mode. We heard from Fred Wright, didn't we, on Sunday, that he will need to do efforts, and everyone is very individual as to what they need on a rest day. But for that intermediate sprint, for the sprinters, of course, looking to take a stage victory today, that'll be an important point, not just for the points themselves with the green jersey up for grabs, but also to just get a feel of how they're feeling after an easier day yesterday.
Well, the way through, sometimes you've got to forge your own way. Sometimes the road gets closed off as well. Any gaps that appeared the other day were nicely closed by Ismail Isabay.
Jonas, back home, many people are saying that they can't see your mustache in the interview. So, just if you look into the camera.
Yeah, I think you really have to zoom in on it, then you might be able to see it. Otherwise, yeah, not really. I'm not really, I don't have so much, how do you say it? The capabilities of growing a mustache, but I'm trying at least.
Is the plan to keep it all the way to Nice?
I think then my wife will not be so happy when she has to kiss me, so I think at one point I'll have to shave it off when she will get here. So the morning that it will go off, I guess you know what time it is.
Jonas, on a serious note, a lot of talk about Sunday, the gravel stage, Remco and Pogacar being a bit disappointed, frustrated how you guys were riding. Do you have a reply for their critics too?
I mean, of course, it would be nice. I mean, we could take some time there, but we have our tactics and they have their tactics, and we wanted to stay safe, and yeah, that's the way we raced that day. I think, to be honest, it was a good call for me to not cooperate with them because, yeah, as everyone could see, I was in trouble on the third last sector, and if I would have been with those two guys, I would have, maybe Remco as well, would have lost some time because he was even further behind than me. So yeah, I think it saved me from losing time.
To confirm, which bike, what bike are you on today, yours or Jan?
Yeah, it's mine, luckily. Or it doesn't matter actually. The only.
You look really good on Jan's bike.
Yeah, thanks. It's almost the same bike, so maybe we'll swap again.
Good luck, Jonas.
Thank you.
That was Anders Milker speaking to Jonas Vingegaard. Vingegaard giving us lessons in diplomacy, in how to take part in Movember. We heard Charlie Rutgenius and Matt Stevens giving us geography and weather lessons earlier on. I think it's time then, given the geography teacher's job has already been done, for a history lesson with Jonathan Harris-Bass. And Jono, this morning, stage start in Orléans. I woke up and I started humming that song, The Maid of Orleans, by OMD, talking about Joan of Arc.
Yeah, Joan of Arc, or Jeanne d'Arc, as she is of course known in France. And for those of you who are listening to the little introduction, I talked about the fact that as we went past a statue of her in Orléans, where she really became most famous because she led the siege of Orléans, which was a major point in the 100 Years' War, which led to the crowning of Charles VI, who was the Dauphin at the time. It was used as a bit of a political pawn, Jeanne d'Arc. She was then sold to the English by the French. She decided she was getting too powerful, proclaimed a heretic, burnt at the stake. That was then quashed by Pope Calixtus III in 1456, and she was elevated to the rank of martyr within France. She was a symbol of freedom at the time of the French Revolution, so became an incredibly important symbol for the Republic. And then in 1909, she was beatified, canonized in 1920, and she is now one of the 4 secondary patron saints of France. So she has a hugely important position within France and symbolises that freedom and independence within the Republic.
I didn't realise there were a ranking of the saints there. You learned something new there, wouldn't you? Tell you what, you're too good at this. You're going to be asked to teach history as well next year. A storm brewing in the distance, perhaps later on today. Just look at that. Not quite dark or Bill's mums yet. Well, it's building up to that. Stage 10. I think we're going to get a weather update actually from our very own Mr. Michael Fish. Matt Stevens is out there on the bike today. Looks like it might be starting to fill in the distance. Let's see. Oh, again, it's the warming of the storm. The rider's moving on. Still no breakaway if you're just joining us for stage 10. Let's go to Matt Stevens on the motor.
Another little weather update in between chewing on some nuts. It started to rain quite heavily actually. It's those really big fat raindrops, like really moist, almost like cherries, full of water falling from the sky. You can really feel the air is heavy. But I had a bit of a chat with a couple of riders. Egan Bernal looked relaxed. Michael Matthews as well said his legs are feeling a lot better after the rest day. Still a nice, generally relaxed atmosphere, but the heavens have opened a bit here, although it is easy. So the rain at the moment on and off, but because of the direction of the course, nothing technical for the riders to worry about. Back to the commentators.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Keep an eye on it. And yeah, look at that wet road. I'll tell you what, though, I want to see the world from where Matt sees it. Fruit falling from the sky. It's only 2 o'clock now.
I'm loving these insights already from Matt Stevens on the bike behind, which is going to be very, very entertaining, isn't it?
Well, superb stuff as we move along. And we're moving through France, and there's been some French sports news, cycling news this morning. French Olympic squad has been announced for the men. Julien Alaphilippe, part of a 4-man team, of course, maximum 4 riders in the Olympic gold race. He will be accompanied by Tour stage winner Kevin Vauclin, that's what winning the Tour stage does. Valentin Madouas, former French champion, and Christophe Laporte, which has provoked quite a bit of disappointment from the likes of Benoit Cosnefroy, who thought he would be in there, but also in his own admission in a social media post saying, well, he's improved a heck of a lot, but he isn't there. And we also heard from Geraint Thomas, being as diplomatic as ever, but expressing his own disappointment of not being selected for the Olympic Games and the road race or the time trial, talking about how he'd heard that the selection was going to be based on one-day races, and he'd only had the chance to race a single one-day race this year. That was Strade Bianca, where he was waiting for the team. So I think a little hint at the fact that he was unhappy about the selection process, but delivered beautifully, diplomatically, as ever by Geraint. Yes, the rain, well, is falling properly now. Always are up. I think as soon as the race passes, we might be back in the car. I'm waiting for it to stop. No chance to get the covers on here, though. There's Jakob Fuglsang. Oh, hearing from our very own Anders Milk, he's got his ear to the ground, hasn't he? Eyes open everywhere. Always talking, always gathering scraps of information. And he's spoken to Jakob Fuglsang, who says he will have 1 more year. Thought about retiring this year, but still feels he's got something to give. And well, that, if it does come at the same team, will be another contract to join that of Stevie Williams, who extended on the rest day as well. He'll stay at Israel Premier Tech now until the end of 2028. Jonathan Castro Viejo has added a year to his contract, as has his fellow Basque rider, Johnny Zaguirre, who will stay at Cofidis until the end of 2025. As well as those contract renewals, though, we have confirmation of what we thought might come at the end of this year. Miguel Merkel has decided to retire at the end of this season. He's got a big year coming up, even after this fantastic Tour de France he's having with Mark Cavendish. He's going to be going to the Olympic Games, road and track. He's going to go to the World Championships. He will then race a home track World Championships later on this year in Denmark as well. So a very big 6 months still to come for Merkel at the end of his career. And he put a lovely line in there to describe his career. He said, I was never the most talented. I'm certainly not the most talented, but I'd like to think I've got the best out of my talent with Merkel. So nice stuff from Merkel. He will leave the peloton.
Good.
Well, 156 Ks to go. It's very slow today, so this might be another popular change. I'm glad of it.
309, sige, 309.
Here comes Colton Cole. Thank you, Rob. They're saying there may be thunder. Well, let's wait and see. Extreme weather protocols are never that far away when you get a day like this, because they haven't been to that. And Danny, it's right to say to you that we'll be at the forefront of everybody's minds. We've seen some spectaculars. Actually, the attrition rate of this race has not been the highest that we've seen. Try telling that to Vlasov and exiting with his ankle and I think possibly a fuzzy head after the look of him the other day. We don't want any more of that, do we, in the wet roads potentially later on?
No, of course we don't, and there is this question mark over the final today.
May tao tong si
We'll have to tackle inside the last kilometre, but of course we hope that everyone stays safe. With Vlasov, there were more question marks because we did see him kind of when he got at that time that he'd broken his ankle, but then I was
sige, baka na ano lang ni Ma'am daw. Sige, dito na lang po sa baba. Papalitan na lang.
he was being sick in the race when he got back on the bike, and then that can be, a telltale sign of concussion. So he and everyone else, of course, has now exited the race after finding out that
316 na lang po.
it'll be a really big blow to the
316.
Yeah, I mean, as Rob was saying earlier on, we're not doctors, but he certainly looked worse for wear in many different ways. It could well have just been his ankle giving way underneath him that caused the wobble, but we certainly had some concussion concerns. Let's get on board, shall we, and see just how bad it was.
Ang gano'n yan, bigyan ka sir. Anong water ni sir?
Good Lord, Dan. We look at that. It was so nervous just watching that. I got my back of my neck standing up yet again. Kind of only just settled our nerves in the rest day. And then you see the surface that they had to deal with. The problem was it was so variable. Nobody knew what they were going to have next. All right, we've got these white roads, but
They were all so different, weren't they, in their composure?
They were different, and one of the first little clips that we had there was, I think, Sector 2, and a lot of riders were comparing it to, the Koppenberg in Flanders, and it was like a one-day classics race. There was also the UCI that had put more gravel on the course, okay, to cover the potholes, but like you said, Carter, every single gravel section was very, very different, and the riders just didn't quite know what they were letting themselves in for. And I am still on the fence with this one. Yes, of course, I understand that we're in the entertainment industry, we're here to put bums on seats and the eyes in front of the TV, but I think as a rider, and I'm taking this view from inside the peloton, I think the opinion for most is that it is different. And if one of the big four had have lost time because of a puncture or a crash, it would have been terrible. We all want them to have a clear run and see a war in the mountains, don't we? So, yes, exactly. It was a spectacle. It was great to watch. Thankfully, no one did lose time. But, yeah, I think it would have been a very, very much a relief, a sense of relief once that stage was finished for a lot of the riders.
I think you're absolutely right. Had there been any of the big names, no disrespect to those who struggled, but had any of the big names, those who are locked in battle for the GC, come a cropper on that stage, then it would have been remembered for something entirely different. The danger is, of course, it was so fabulous, it was such a great day of entertaining racing, that it becomes the norm, in which case we're going to have to wait for it to go badly wrong before it gets ironed out of it again, I think.
Yeah, potentially, and also, the gravel, it's the big cool thing to do at the moment, isn't it? So, of course, for ASO, they're going to put a stage like that in the Tour de France. We get it every couple of years, don't we? And you're right, it was a spectacle. It was a fantastic race to watch, and ultimately, that's why these riders are here. They're providing entertainment. This is the biggest stage, the biggest race in cycling. So I see both arguments.
Me too. The arguments that rain down upon poor Jonas Vingegaard, so his work rate, his input. This is a man who's come back from serious injury in the last country, and then all of a sudden he finds himself in a race where he's up against a team in UAE Team Emirates in particular, where he's probably likely to struggle when it comes to the mountains. He doesn't want to offer any favours to his arch rival, Tony Buchanan. He was on a bike that didn't belong to him. Only 3 millimetres difference, apparently, to the bike that is owned by Jan Frank in terms of seat height. But that, Danny, to a pro, is a palpable difference, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and these riders will be able to feel every single millimetre that's out on a different bike. Even the saddles are very different as well, and the way that you sit on the saddle and how then that impacts, how the material is formed. So he would have definitely felt a difference.
The more chances we will have a wet final, as it looks now. There will be coming in some thunderstorms.
There we are, a wet final. Well, I'm not quite sure who's going to thrive best, but Little Trek issuing a warning there. Interesting that with Little Trek, Mads Pedersen, of course, is out of the race, sadly. Ryan Gibbons gets elevated in terms of his duties, and he said, he's finished 6th into Colombey, I think it was, yes it was, when Germain got his second victory. He says there is a new mindset that he's got to basically put himself into, the South African champion, to turn himself back from being a lead-out man to, indeed, being the man who is the last man standing. Danny, it is a very different role. It's been 5 years since he's actually been allowed to have a full-on sprint. 5 years except, I think, for the run to Colombey. He finished 6th there, but having a lead-out man who's used to threading through technical approaches, it could be, dare I say it, a brilliant day for the rank outsider amongst the favoured sprinters. Ryan Gibbons gets the nod for Little Trek.
Yeah, but sometimes this is the opportunity that these riders need, and because of obviously Mads Pedersen unfortunately having to exit the race due to that crash that he had, this gives a huge opportunity to Ryan Gibbons, who will now be able to somewhat freestyle off the other lead-outs and show us and the team what he can do. He was sick on stage 8. He's had 10 professional wins to his name, double national champion, of course, in the road race and the time trial, and no pressure. He would have come into this tour being that lead-out man. So I think he'll thrive off that. And on a technical finish with that zigzag, this means that it is more open and it will offer that opportunity to a rider like Wright.
So there you go, Ryan Gibbons is the rank outsider today that you need to start holding in on. Welcome back, everybody. Well, it's midday in the offing today, and a reasonably long day, 187 kilometres. No KOM points to tempt out the likes of, well, Abramson, to be honest. We have, though, an intermediate sprint underway, and that will be coming up fairly soon. Hopefully in about 16 kilometres' time. Danny and I, while some of you have been away, have just been speculating as to who it might be that takes that step forward. Billy Gamay, his avowed aim is to finish at least in the top 5 in the remaining 4 sprint stages, of which today is one. Ines Grenadiers have just issued a note to everybody just to keep the basics going. The basics, Danny, means pay attention, don't let any of the minor stuff like, I don't know, just remembering to drink.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's interesting to point out actually with Ineos, they do these things right, they look after themselves, and on a day like today where it could be easy to get carried away as well and just kind of ride next to someone, have a chat, but actually when you're in the wind, you're using up energy that you're going to need, not just today, but in stages to come, so you have to try and keep your powder dry. It was interesting, I was listening to the podcast again with Geraint Thomas. I think it was after the second day where some of the teams, UAE being one of them, were just having a little mess around at the front of the peloton, attacking off the front. And he said, this is absolutely ridiculous. What is going on with modern bike racing? Because, you know, this is a 3-week race. Why on earth are you using up all of this energy that you are going to need? So he was in the radio of his teammates, don't get drawn into this, because this is where, again, you can really lose out when it really matters. So really good point there from Zach Dempster, the DS in the team car of Ineos, just to say, come on, you know, keep a lid on this one. Look, it's so relaxed. They're almost on a club run here. But just make sure you're sheltered with the wheel of someone in front of you, you're not using up any energy, and you keep fueling. Because you're not just fueling for today, you're fueling for the days to come.
Yeah, particularly tomorrow, actually, if we run to Lorient. It's quite outstanding. We go up Point Marie, and we have a bonuses as well in the mountains to hike down at the end of the day. So if you've got anybody who is in contention for the overall, indeed starting now, I guess, Stanley, when we get to, what, the 10th, as it will be the 11th day, of the tour, you've got to start thinking potentially about places if you feel like the podium is just out of reach. Every single one of the top 10 is worth battling for, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. I think, again, going back to Ineos with Carlos Rodriguez, you know, he's sitting in a really strong position on that general classification in 7th. And you would have to argue that the parkour so far hasn't suited his attributes as a rider, so they've got a huge amount to gain, where those placings behind the top 3, you'd say, are still very, very tight indeed. We've got a huge day on day 14 and stage 15 collectively before that second rest day. So these are the days where you just have to try and keep quiet and look after yourself.
Looking after that green jersey and looking after Biniam Gamay, what an outstanding tour it has been for Intermarché 1-2. In fact, they must feel like all their Christmases have come at once. Save perhaps for Gerben Tyson, who was the favoured sprinter on the day that Biniam took his first win. He was given a free card to play and indeed served everybody absolutely beautifully on the right-hand side of the road to actually come home good. Gerben Tyson then, of course, dutifully helping out Biniam late on. Today's final approach is so technical, I think somebody like Gerben Tyson, who could really get himself into a decent position, might be an absolute gem for Biniam Gamay. We'll be talking about the approach formations of some of those teams in a short while. First of all, we're going to hear from Mikkel Mørkøv, who is speaking to us now.
Mikkel Mørkøv, first and foremost, how was it yesterday finally to say it out loud? That this is your last Tour de France, this is the last season, because I know even though you're up in a certain age, it's not an easy decision.
Of course, it's very emotional to at some point say goodbye to what has been a big part of my life. I really enjoy it so much still, but I also feel it's the right time after this season to to draw a line. And of course, yesterday has been an amazing day with so many nice messages, so many good words from everyone around. So I've been very enjoying it.
And Michael, I know this is a tough question to answer on. You've had a long and successful career. What is your best memory as a cyclist?
Well, it's probably to do the professional 6 days of Copenhagen. That was where my dream started. And obviously, winning the Olympic gold in Tokyo 3 years ago.
I love the fact that the six-day racing, I'm just about to mention him, I hope he has a couple more seasons of six-day racing. Sometimes you can extend your career in that. It's a phenomenal form of racing. Of course, you can enjoy the Track Champions League here on Discovery Plus and Eurosport, so do make sure you tune in for that at the end of the season. You never know if he continues to shine like that. Fabulous. Adam Blythe, as we welcome you, that Mikkel referenced the 6 days amongst his greatest achievements.
It is, yeah, 6 days I think for Thailand as well, like Mikkel Morkov. They are huge for them, you know, and especially there's a 6 day in Copenhagen. And they have a very long Madison race, 100 kilometres long on the track, which is ridiculous. It's always one that I know he's enjoyed doing, and he always loves riding the track. He always has done, he's very, very good at it as well. And I think when you're very good at something like he has been for a lead out down the track, I think it's always good to have those fond memories like he has of it, because they mean so much to him. He was obviously flying at the time.
Yeah.
You always remember the good stuff.
You do, thank heaven. You know, that's what this sport is all about. And we've had so much good stuff, Adam, from the very beginning. I mean, starting off with 2 French wins, we got a double victory for Gamay. We had all the drama with Turgis coming through and just dominating that final phase of a breakaway that looked like it was absolutely shredded. We had all the principals together racing over what was a devil of a surface. And, you know, that's without mentioning Pogacar's victory, Mark Cavendish as well, of course, hitting the magic 35. This race has had just about everything, hasn't it?
It's been incredible. Yeah, we've had so many stories. There's a lady that's come into the office who works for Warner Brothers here, and she was just asking how the race went, and it's been unbelievable. From start to finish, it has been incredible, you know, right from that very first day up until the gravel stage. It's been like a one day almost every day. There's been that much excitement involved with it. So yeah, we've been very, very lucky, and whoever's done the route this year has done it absolutely brilliantly. It's just been non-stop action. And even on a day like this, you know, it's nothing's happening. There's no breakaway up the road, and oh, never say that.
All of a sudden, they've decided that this is now. I don't think this is a bit of hilarity either. They mean this. Danny, finally got some action. We've been paced up just a little bit. We're hitting 54 kilometres per hour on the little downhill runs into villages. But finally, somebody's decided to grab the day by the scruff of the neck.
Yep, 2 Lotto riders and Intermarché rider, of course. And these 2 teams are 2 of the favourites for today, with Arnaud Tilly, who's come very, very close in Gamay as well. So all 3 looking to just put themselves off the front. Also, that intermediate sprint is coming up, isn't it? In around 11.5 kilometres time with 130.2 to go. So I don't know if this is going to stay out there for long. A lot of teams and riders looking for those points.
I think this is possibly a bit of insurance gone up the road here, especially for Vinny and Gamay's teammate Adam. You know, if he can't have the points, then make sure nobody else does.
Yeah, exactly that. And we've got Harman Hooper there from Lotto Destiny, and I think it's Max, and Harman Hooper as well. And I'm not sure who the Bonte rider is, but it's they're laughing while they're doing it. They're not really taking it too seriously. And it wouldn't surprise me if it started to, you can just see from that helicopter shot right at the top of the screen, they're just sat side by side by side. So maybe just having a little bit of fun.
But this is what I was alluding to a minute ago when having fun, you know, and the Ineos Black Devils are coming over the radio. Like, they shouldn't be doing this because it's just energy that they're wasting. If it's not for, you know, a purpose to get themselves in the breakaway, then what are you doing? You're just wasting unnecessary energy that your teammates are going to need in the final or in days to come.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to the crunch point into the final, if they're just missing that extra little bit of speed, or that extra little bit towards the finish, then yeah, I can imagine they'll be frustrated. But I think, as you can see, sitting up, slowing down, we have to remember that we talked about on the breakaway show this morning, the guys doing an opening sprint, you know, really ramping up and doing that opening. That might have been their opening. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. It won't have taken too much out of them. But Danny is right, you know, if you imagine yourself as a rock, and in each stage of the race you chip a little bit off that rock, the harder you try for unnecessary points, the bigger that chip is, and the more of a whole rock you need for each stage. So, yeah, you just want to save, not just for today, but for the whole tour.
Adam, on that point, when do we start to worry about Tadej Pogacar, the impact that the Giro had upon him? He looks phenomenally strong at the moment. Could it be that those little chips that you talk about may well indeed start to show deeper into this race?
I think so. Through like the recent years in history polls and everything, how bike riding's gone, you know, someone's done the Giro, they always tend to slow down towards the end of the Tour de France. We see more attacks coming off the club, so it's enticing people to go off. 2 Francis Giro riders this time, Groupama riders, sorry. It's starting to get interesting.
You know, if it was a joke, it might well have backfired, quite frankly. Let's see. You can never tell, Danny. It's exactly what you were saying. Keep it sensible.
Yeah, this looks different to me. The intent of these riders looks very different as to what we saw previously. But just back to the Tadej Pogacar point, I think, you know, I think differently to what Adam was saying. You know, I think he is a very special individual. He seems very confident. He is, of course, in the yellow jersey, leading so far, so the best position you'd argue to be in. And he said he's feeling better than he's ever felt on a bike. So if that is the case, then that is remarkable.
He was in that trio of arguments, can we put it that way, between Evenepoel, Vingegaard and Tadej Pogacar. He was kind of the neutral party, wasn't he? He was riding along with Evenepoel, who was haranguing at both Vingegaard in particular, and Tadej Pogacar. So he was off Pogacar, I think. He was just in marking mode. He didn't look overly stressed. However, Jonas Vingegaard was on somebody else's bike, so the ultimate excuse. He's very much thinking the long game, and that's the way he's got to be, because it's such a long road back from his injuries that I don't think even he knows, for the time being, Danny, where he stands just yet.
No, I don't think he does, but I think he will be very, very confident, and what he was doing there was sticking with the game plan. He had absolutely nothing to gain from working with Tadej Pogacar and Remco Evenepoel. It was only going to go one way, and that would have been him losing time in that instance. So I think actually for Jonas there are less question marks than there were at the start of this tour. He's been, you know, really good, as have his team. And then Tadej Pogacar, he was racing aggressively. We love watching him race, but will that become unstuck in the final week?
We should see. Welcome back, everybody. A little bit of life being shown in the peloton, because we have a race up the road with Brent Van Moor and Kobe Goossens chasing in. Kevin Genietz, Valentin Madouas now, and Maxime Van Giels. It's a trio who are in pursuit, 30-second margin. That may well indeed be trimmed down just a little bit by Alpecin de Koenig, who have woken up to the fact that Jesper Philipsen needs to basically deliver something when it comes to every single intermediate sprint. Big points, 50 of course for the winner at the end of the day. It was 20 off at the intermediate. It goes 20, 17, 15, 13, 11. If they don't catch the intermediate group, who are at 24 seconds at the moment, in the next 4K, it means the best points available are 10. Now, William Demay and his team, their avowed aim over the remaining 4 sprint stages of this race, might have some quicker other days as well where it might have an impact, because he doesn't mind a little bit of a ramp at the end of the day, but nonetheless, 4 sprint stages on their cards. They want to finish in the top 5. That way, they think that will be enough to guarantee the green jersey, or at least give them a big shout out. In that competition at the moment, William Demay leads on 224 points, as opposed to Jesper Philipsen, who's on 128. That it is a huge deficit, Danny, and Philipson knows he's got to start assembly points wherever he can find them, and this intermediate sprint that's coming up is an opportunity.
It is, it's a huge opportunity, and it looks like they are going to catch the riders out in front here with 28 seconds and then 116 to our leaders. So it is points that they've missed out on here. Jaco Alula, another team that are going to be, or come to the front now for their sprinter, and Dylan Groenewegen, who of course already had a stage win. So they'll be running on momentum here. But yeah, for Philipson, he's going to be somewhat desperate, you could say, at this stage. Really hoping
Muso, sagutin mo telepono mo.
to take a stage win.
How busy do you think Vinny will be today in this intermediate?
Busy enough, he'll be there and kicking around. I think, as Danny just mentioned with Philipson, I think his points are important. But I think the stage win's way more important. Because even with these guys going out the front now, he isn't going to be stressed about it. His team are not going to be stressed. So we're going to ride today anyway. So I think they're just carrying on as what they were going to do with the break down the front. I think once you get that stage win ticked off, and then you again, but there's no point in just trying to do everything and catch this break, for example, just for the sake of a few points, and maybe not tire himself out, but could have an accident, whatever it might be leading into this sprint. So I'd say for Alpecin and him, main priority is the win today, and this is scrape up whatever you can get in India. Of course, we can't extend that lead, but not going to go into a red or blue. So
I think whatever is done here by Jasper Philipson for the 10 points that's going to be available, assuming that the 5 riders who are in front of them go over the line and take the 2017, 15, 13, 11 points up for grabs there for them, the top 5 positions, kind of starting to feel like small beans, but there are some who are quite close at hand. On the lead trails Anthony Turgis, who of course won yesterday by 6 points, so he may well revolt up to nudging up against the podium positions. Jonas Abramson, of course, the eternal breakaway rider, sitting in the in 3rd place at the moment. Don't be surprised if he gets a little bit of a bead on, as they say, and goes for it. But it's going to be hovered up by these guys. We'll see what happens behind them. We are nearly there, actually, about 1,500 metres away from that intermediate. And relatively low approach to this. Very different to what we're going to be doing at the end of the day.
Yeah, a little bit sketchy, you would say, with that kind of zigzag left and right inside the last kilometre. So it easily into that left-hand corner. All the sprint lead-outs are doing what they can to make sure their leader is well positioned into that left-hand tail. We've also got a little bit of a launch pad, so with 10 kilometres to go, there's a climb of around 2.5 kilometres, it's only about 2-3%. And it is a straight run into that, so I don't think it will cause, many difficulties for the sprinters, but you might see a team like Lotto Destiny just trying to put the hammer down to maybe put some of the more pure sprinters, you could argue, on the back foot there.
Here we go then, pick it up, and Jasper Philipson. I think apart from anything else, he'd like to make a statement.
Little shake of the head coming there though, Carlton, which is interesting. He's still not moved on to Wheeler Van der Poel. Van der Poel's up there, he's obviously last lead out man. He's ramping it up, but he's in a good position, but just a little shake of the head. One of the teammates at the front on the radio. I'm still intrigued to know why Brent Van Moor has gone in the break today. I know it's possibilities of Peloton maybe relaxing a little bit too much, but it's a Tour de France stage up for grabs. We're not just going to let it pass them by.
No, why not? You're absolutely right, Adam. If there's gifts on the table, then you help yourself. So the cruise through at 50-odd kilometres per hour. Kobiusis takes it ahead of Brent Van Moor. See how they kick on. Looks like these guys have kind of lost their heart just a little bit. Are they going to get snaffled just at the very death here? Kilometre to go, might be, but it's going to take an extra bit of effort, Adam, for them to be bypassed here in the dying moments of this intermediate.
You can see the speed difference, so Carlton running into this sprint. Alpecin on the left-hand side of the road. Astana moving up with Mark Cavendish, just that second wheel there. You can see him in the middle of the screen. Lee right towards the front as well. So there are teams that are starting to ramp this up massively. And there we go, the catch has been made relatively easily. and now it's a sprint behind for these bonus points, the green jersey points that are up for grabs.
Cabanats leading Deli. You can see the Belgian tricolour just coming up on the right-hand side of the road. Philipsen is trying to take the guides here from Mathieu van der Poel, the world champion, centre of the road. Double checks on himself here. Arkea in the way just momentarily. He's still got the driver from the world champion. And Philipsen on the release right now. In a good position. William Gamay is tracing him almost on a toe rope, I think, as they come to line. Gamay almost out into the barriers there. Goodness me. And Philipsen once again, we're just ahead of Kadiri, I think, as indeed there was a sit-up there for of course, Gamay, but that was a sketchy moment. Now, he has been roundly criticised and indeed relegated for lateral movement in a sprint. I don't know whether it's deliberate, but he just seemed to wobble there, Adam. That wasn't good.
It wasn't Philipsen's fault, nothing to do with him by that first look here. I think the main thing was, if you look at the barriers coming up on the right-hand side here, there's no barriers, then they go to metal barriers, and then at this point, the metal barriers, and just as he steps out of here, that's when the barriers really start to come out a little bit, you see. Yeah. So it looks a lot worse than what it was. I mean, Philipsen there, we can argue moved a little bit, but the barriers stepped out way more than what Philipsen moved. Philipsen, for me, there did nothing wrong.
You're absolutely right, Adam. There was a pinch on the barriers. I never know the wisdom of that because it looked like it was by design. Sometimes you get crowds impinging and they can actually push the barriers just a little bit, Danny, but that was a sudden narrowing. I don't perhaps think they expected it to be so busy. It wasn't wide.
No, it wasn't, and I did take a little bit of a deep breath there, but there was absolutely no intent from the and like Adam said. You know, he did take a look over his left-hand shoulder, so he did move very, very slightly, but I think it was made worse by that little pinch point in the barriers there.
Gosh, well, heart rate can now tip down just a little bit. What can we expect from the remainder of the day until we get to the drama of our finale? I must admit, I'm not overly sure why they put in a little excursion within the last kilometre. We take on two sides of what looks like an equilateral triangle to bring ourselves back to our finale. There is a climb, as Danny was mentioning. Also, Matt said that it's actually got sections within it of 5%. That comes with, about 7 kilometres to go before the line, maybe a little bit less than that, peak of it.
Yeah, it comes with 7.5 kilometres to go. They then descend down to 5.2, and then the last 5.2 is totally flat. But like I was saying, it's a very fast run into that climb. So I think with the momentum and the lead outs that the teams will have, it shouldn't cause too much of a difficulty.
Well, let's hope not. When you accidentally find yourself on holiday, as John Harris Press's favourite movie, I believe, with Darren Nye. He's going to give me a nod in a minute. I believe that's his favourite. Anyway, we'll be hearing a lot more from John today, certainly a lot more than we heard from him on stage 9, when basically it was all hell breaking loose from the very start until the stop. You know, the thing that worried me most about stage 9, Adam, was the fact that they'd put new gravel, which was limestone chunks, which they used to use at the edge of school playgrounds and the like, to stop you, I think, climbing the walls and things. These things had actually tumbled down their little hills, and they were quite deep on the entry into some of the corners. I'm just pleased we all got away with it.
Well, that's the main thing, Carlton, that we did all get away with there. Just interesting there, Carlton. Harman Hooker just trying to take up. I had a little inkling that this might happen, to try and take some points away from the riders for Toledo, his teammates. So Harman Hooker taking 17 points, but even that, Toledo's not even in the top 5 here? Top 10, he's not even there either. So even though one teammate, but even one teammate just up the road taking larger points, so they didn't really try and contest that much. So weren't taking too much out of Van Hooker there to go in that break, but you'd have thought that Toledo, if that was the plan, that he'd have tried to take as much as possible.
Indeed. Welcome back, everybody. Kobe Housens has now been abandoned off the front, is now beaming back to base, saying, I don't know, beam me up, Scotty. He's got a minute on the peloton at the moment. Harvan Hoek, who we assume was trying to snap on some major points off the rivals to Arno de Lee in the breakaway. Arno
not getting the best of finishes in the intermediate stretch, finished in 10th. Didn't see how he was bumped and balked, if indeed he was, or whether it just wasn't worth the candle he's holding on till the end. They will have lit many a candle in this part of the world back in the day, as John Housepass has just been regaling us. This area apparently was supposed to be funded so it became as magnificent as Rome. Well, without 7 hills, like Rome, or as Adam Blythe well knows as well, like Sheffield as well. It would have had, they would have needed a lot of excavation work to make it like Rome, and possibly quite a bit more to be spent as well.
Just interesting there, Carter. I know I mentioned Van Hooker there, trying to get points for the league. Trevor Gosens there, who's in the front on 1-2, he's done exactly the same thing, but the difference is Gamai was further up the rankings, and he's in the green jersey. So maybe read into it a little bit that Gamai is not as confident in his super fast sprint.
Jasper Philipsen, first and foremost, how was the race day?
Good. Like you now, for first place.
What did you do?
Rest. Yeah, I had some time with the family also. Yeah, we had a easy ride, and yeah, just relaxing on the bed, watching a series.
Possible bunch sprints today. The run-in today looks very interesting. Also, if you look at your team with Mature, it's quite technical. How do you see the run-in, the free turns before the finish?
Yeah, I see we have a straight line, and we make a deviation. Maybe to stretch the peloton out a little bit. So yeah, we know it's crucial, and like the other teams are, they know as well. So yeah, something to take into account.
Oh yes, obviously you would have loved to have a win or two already in the tour. It's a bit different compared to last year. How is it that you don't have a win already in the Tour de France?
Yeah, the tour is still some days, like 2 weeks ago, and it was not like last year so far. So, but yeah, we try from this week on again, and we see what happens. Good luck. Thank you.
Asked how he spent his rest day, the answer was resting. You get the feeling, Danny, that his legs are in the right place, and maybe his head has slightly been distracted by the fact that the wins haven't come not as easily, but as regularly as they did last year.
Yeah, potentially, and we're talking about this, and the team and himself needing that win to just gather that momentum. You can see a problem here for Jonas, but no stress whatsoever. Always find it interesting to listen to what the riders got up to on the rest. It's so individual, and I just saw Chris Harper from Team Joko Alula did 137 kilometres yesterday in the rest day. Some riders needing a lot more than others, but clearly had the time to recover. Unlike maybe a rider like Tadej Pogačar in those jerseys, which would have had to go, they would have had to have had a press conference, a lot more attention around them. So for Philipsen, he would have been able to spend a lot of the time on his bed, seeing loved ones, watching whatever it is that he likes to watch, the series that we just mentioned there. So I think the start to this stage as well would have been welcomed by a lot of riders. Nice, easy, relaxing morning as we get closer and closer to the finish, and that tension's getting really big today.
Adam, different riders cope with rest days in a different manner. Some regard it as a rhythm breaker, and they'd almost rather do without it, even over 3 weeks. And others really relish the rest. It's a strange one. How are you?
I'm alright, thanks, Colin. How are
No,
you?
I mean, how were you when you were riding when it came to rest days?
Fresh is best for me, Carl. Tonight I like to put my feet up properly, just go out for an hour, cruise along, maybe get behind the car for 15, 20k, shake my legs out a little bit. But yeah, I wanted to be fresh. But each rider is different. I saw Victor Campenaerts, he had his freshly born son down there with him, and he didn't even touch the bike yesterday. And I think, you know, we have to remember that rest days, what you do on a rest day is very much influenced on what the stage is the day after that as well. So for example, this stage, they all knew it was flat, so it's not going to be like climbing straight up a hill or into a time trial or anything like that. As we see a replay of the sprint here, on the right hand side, Philipsen and Gamai right on his wheel, which watch that barrier kick out ever so slightly. It's at this point here, nothing to do with Philipsen there. He was in the trajectory alongside that barrier, and Gamay could see it. Luckily great, but for me, Philipson did absolutely nothing wrong there. It was just the barrier's fault, and if they want to make it safer, they're going to have to put those barriers further and further out with the logos on them. But yeah, Victor Campenaerts did absolutely zero yesterday on the bike, and if you look at today's start, he probably had a good look and thought, I don't need to do anything, I'm going to take a proper rest.
See, I was totally different. I used to have to do, you know, a good couple of hours with efforts, because if I didn't, my body would go into complete recovery mode and I would feel terrible. So, yeah, okay, for some of the riders, Jonas, you can see here at the back, just getting himself back onto the peloton. They would have had today to find their legs again. This would be a day for them to just stay safe. But yeah, unfortunately for me, I had to do a lot in a rest day.
Well, yeah, you're in good company, because whenever we used to be on site and have our rest days, Rob Hatch, Doug, our producer, plenty of others, used to hire bikes and go out for a ride. And I used to seek out Carlton Miggles and go and seek out a chateau and buy some wine.
Don't blame me, Carlton. That sounds lovely to me.
At the end of the day, they all looked magnificent, glistening in the evening sunshine, and I just looked moderately refreshed. Anyway, there we are. Different beats for different days. 120 kilometres to go, and Abramson, who had there been any peaklets today, would have been up in the breakaway. But he didn't contest the sprint. He's still very well placed in the overall classification as far as the points are concerned. An update for you. Bidin Gourmet picked up 13 points out of that last sprint, and he is on 237 points. And Jesper Philipsen got 15 points, finishing a couple of places in front of Gourmet there, and he is on 143. Abramson, holding station, got no points there on 107. Closing in on him, Turgis, who, buoyed on by his success on the white roads, is now in fourth place. It's been Honor de Lee got 6 points. He hasn't buffed 100 yet, he's on 98, so that may all change at the end of the day. We've settled down. Time for some snap, as they say, up in the Yorkshire Dales. And as a result, it's recipe time from John Harris Bass. John, it's slightly miserable. Have you got a casserole for us today?
I haven't got a casserole. I'm still actually recovering from you suggesting that Sheffield was the Rome of the North.
As I say, in Sheffield, built on stone walls. That's where the comparison ends.
Yes. John, I've missed these recipes. I'm looking forward to it, mate.
Okay, well, I'm delighted you are, Adam. Today is a tartlet au pois, which is quite a complicated one to make. Right, interesting. Tackles. You probably want to talk about those before I wax lyrical about food again.
It's not too much to explain, really. I mean, if you got that out, it's get to the second or third line of the peloton. Don't ride on the front, but you need to be in a good position. The wind is coming from a cross tailwind at kilometre 58 to go. So from there on in, it is going to be very, very difficult to move up. All the GC teams and sprint teams that want to be towards the front, so if they can get in that position early and hold it, it's going to make their life a lot easier.
Yeah, I think what he was alluding to as well is at 118k, so only 800 metres time, they're going to turn left into a cross tail, and there are some exposed sections as well, so it will make it a lot harder to move up into that kind of tail cross rather than the headwind or head cross that they're currently riding into.
He's on top of it. Very nice to see him. Also, we're getting sent images from the end of today's stage where the rain is very hard indeed. How's that going to affect things?
Quite a lot is the simplest way to put it. It always influences the race in a different kind of way in each situation. So in this situation here today, with the sprinters and the GC teams up here, the stress is going to be paramount, and I think that's going to be one of the main factors throughout today, positioning as it always is. within the Tour de France, but with a wet roads, it's going to really heighten that stress by quite a lot. Unless you've had a big accident, you can sit down under that and have a little chin wag. And with 116 kilometres to go, as you could say, there's no stress here, so it's time for the rather licoricey voice of John Harris-Bass to talk us through the rest of the day.
So, I haven't done a casserole for these other goodies, but I've done some very tasty tarte de bois, which used to be one of my favourite go-tos when I lived in France. But I discovered when making these that they're not quite as simple as I thought they were. So it requires poaching the pears, which I've never done before, which is putting them in water, white wine, sugar, cinnamon, bit of orange peel, bit of lemon peel, and seeds from a vanilla pod. Then making a frangipan mix, which is butter, orange zest, vanilla, egg, flour, almond and salt, and then a little bit of extra apricot jam and some flaked almonds. I cheated and used a roll of short crust pastry. I don't care what people think about that. I just didn't have the time, so I'm happy with it, and it produced a great result. And it takes its time to produce these, but I have to say the finished product is well worth it. So at jheski, treat cyclist for that recipe and yeah.
Okay, one little detail that a lot of you might not know about, I'm just actually driving next to the opposite car. The bikes are not racked up randomly on the roof rack at all. Are for any particular stage. So for today it is a sprint stage. So the way the roof rack will be racked up in terms of the spare bikes, you'll have Jasper Philipsen's bike on the outside. So that's really easy to get to in a difficult situation. And next to him, equally as important, of course, is the bike of Mathieu van der Poel. That will change for the GC teams. All the GC protected riders, their bikes will be on the outside. And to make it a little bit easier for the mechanic who sat in the back, a lot of the team cars will have a little diagram drawn on the back of the seat to indicate exactly where the spare bikes are, the rods that they need, so when they get out the car, they can go straight there and not miss a second. Back to the commentator.
Thank you, Matt. All those little details, Danny, they make for a swift change, and it can be very dramatic if something happens late on.
Yeah, they make the difference, don't they? And there'll be that hierarchy, like Matt said, as to where the bikes are positioned on the roof and how quickly the mechanic can get to those bikes. So, of course, on a sprint day for Philipsen, his will be the quickest, most available to grab from the mechanic, and then Mathieu van der Poel being second, and then different for the GC guys and the teams looking after a GC rider as their main objective throughout the tour. So yeah, it's just all these little points, these marginal gains that can make a huge difference, especially in the final. If there's a problem in the last, 10 kilometres, you need that rider back on their bike as quickly as possible.
You may well have noticed just a few moments ago, we passed by what looked like a sort of a pounded chalk little area full of camper vans. And we've also passed over a tennis court. And I've got to tell you that it was a few years ago, I think it was in de Gaulle's time, so quite a few years ago, it was mandated that we had to have something called an aire de camping in France. And that is a free camping area. Yes, absolutely free. You'll find water, possibly a rudimentary toilet. But basically you can go all over France, and all villages, I think, with a population of more than 100 to have an aire de camping. There's another number, I don't know whether it's a little bit more than that or close to it, where you've got to have a tennis court as well. Which obviously explains why, such a great heritage of tennis in France, but also why then was the free camping in every single village of that size? And the reason is, it is an agricultural nation, and we have, or they had, itinerant workers who would actually travel around and indeed follow the seasons essentially, from the south to further north for harvest and things like that. There were also itinerant workers who were the cowboys of the wine industry, and they were called the disgorgers. And they had basically a little pin around their neck which would take away all the sediment from the pressurized champagne bottles. They'd stick the pin down between the glass and the cork and then just take out all of the sediment to give you a clear champagne. Something I would have been waxing lyrical about with John Harris-Bass yesterday. But yeah, so these people needing somewhere to stay, and the Air campings provide that. But now what they provide you is free camping. So if you've got a camper van, you don't have to pay for a campsite. You've got to create Air camping and go and enjoy it. Yeah, why
Stevie
not?
Williams there, sorry Carlton, he's lost the arms on his glasses. I can
How on
only...
earth do
Yeah.
you lose the arms of your glasses? Oh, I love Stevie Williams. He is absolutely hilarious. If you've never met him, you need to, because he will put a smile on your face whenever you are with him. Always one to crack a joke.
Hey, nothing to laugh at. Well, he'll be smiling and laughing as well. So he's just signed a contract till the end of 2028, I believe it has.
Good lad. I wonder how he's done this. It looks like he's got the arms in his hands. I don't think it was a fit of feet.
Just to note there, Carlton, as well, right at the front we saw Mark Cavendish. There's a few things on Cav. We know he likes to settle with his position quite a lot and change things around. On the first day of the Tour de France, he had on blue shoes. After that, he put white shoes back on. It is raining today, so maybe it's through that. No, Mark, probably not. But also, he's not on the bike that he won on. His magical first stage 35. Black, white, and the yellow bike. He's been on for most of the year, but he's black with the blue shoes today as well. So a few things just changed for him there. I'm not sure why. Once again, Matt Stevens, if you're asking...
Bukas na lang. Baba na yung gilid. Check mo.
You're not allowed to interview riders, but maybe suggest somehow. But yeah, just always something different.
The bike's probably in the museum already. No, it will be at the end of the race, I am certain. It's going to be retired. Never to turn a pedal stroke again, I would imagine. What an amazing achievement. I mean, so much has happened, Danny. It's almost just one of the stories, but, you know, but for Mark and many, it is the story of the race so far.
Yeah, it is. It's been a project for well over a year, hasn't it? He was due to retire in last year's Tour de France, but then broke his collarbone in a crash early on. And then the calls were made to Michael Morkov, who we've already talked about, who's just announced he's going to be retiring at the end of the year, to come across to Astana as the best lead-out man for Mark Cavendish. And when he's ridden this in the past, and that was when the project was on for Victory 35 in the Tour de France. So many people behind the scenes supporting that victory, and we've seen people were talking about whether it's going to already this season a couple of stage wins, but the ability to beat these riders.
Hindi ko sabihin pa sa gabi ko panel issue.
Ano issue niya? Coming into the tour. That he has done
Ito rin mo bukas.
and that is just remarkable.
Sino natin makakayanin ko? Wala na tayong
A
nilakawit ng ano.
turbulent career, obviously such a successful one, but the way in which he's come back
Hindi ano lang
mentally
natin.
through these ups and
Lipat-lipat
downs,
natin
people
kung
writing him off.
maraming tibir sa kasi.
You know, and last time he
May
won
mga
here
tiko
was
konti ko din.
2013.
Yung tikong din yun.
Such a long time ago, which
Yung
just
maraming
shows
tikong. Ang issue naman yata nun, sige.
so yeah, chapeau to him, the whole team behind the scenes to pull it off, because it was a big one.
John, you're going to have to tell us about this archer.
Hindi na, kung buo yung...
Well, this is the medieval
Sila pa lang yung sige.
Yung LCD na ito, tigol ka mo sila. Tigol sila ako.
early 13th
Pag wala, ano, huling-huling papalit niya, ako daw papalit niya. Tigol.
and West Block has disintegrated, but the other three have been preserved. There was the Litis Saint-Aubin in the middle there as well that we saw, and Mility-sur-Cher is very famous for its Ondiette. Now, Ondiette, as those of you who have watched the tour in the last decade will know, is my least favourite thing in France. I find it absolutely disgusting, but I had a fascination with it, and I kept on thinking, oh, Ondiette, what's that? I should try it. And so someone one day just turned around and suggested to me, well, order it. And I did, and that is the one and only time that I've had Ondiette. I even bought a sausage roll Ondiette once by mistake, and that went straight in the bin.
Saint-Amand, our destination on stage 13 of the Tour de France in 2013. Well, at 13 is unlucky for some, then it was unlucky for just about everybody else. Mark Cavendish in the British Champions bands, bringing it home and looking absolutely emphatic. Peter Sagan was here, as you can see, mustachio Sagan, that version on the day. Kept leading him, Volcamolino, Jonas Fulsang, and Terps, Alonso Contador just cruising home in 7th place, keeping it safe back then. Happy days, I think it's fair to say. What a long career. And when you talk about sprinters, it's the most dangerous, the most focused thing you could possibly do as a sprinter. And usually, sprinters kind of realise their own, I guess, fallibilities, and safety becomes an issue. As soon as you become a family man, that kind of thing. Mark has managed to keep doing what he does for our entertainment. He's amazing.
A big day for not only Michael but also for you today. Possible bunch sprint. You won in the Finnish City 11 years ago in the crosswind drama. Good memories there?
Yeah, it was good. But no one was expecting it to split, and I think today people expected to split, so I think that's going to kind of stalemate it. We'll arrive with a bunch sprint. Yeah, it was a very nice stage. It was a hard one. I think it's the smallest group I've ever arrived at Tour Championship with 12 and 15 guys. And it was a brilliant job. And that day as well, the whole team got the combat victory prize, which is only one time that's ever happened in Tour de France, so it's a pretty special memory.
You won today.
It is amazing what he remembers about every single one of his victories. In fact, if he'd been pushed there, Adam, he would have told you how they approached him, what the final bend was like. He knows it all.
Because, for each stage you have your story, and for every part of it you've got your chapters, you've got your sentences, everything else to it. But Mark has got a very good memory. But it's always, when you're coming into these bunch sprints, you see so much more than what you think to do. You're always a rider on your left, 4 places on your left. You'll recognise how much time they've been in the wind, recognise how they've been the last couple of days around you, and all these things you start to put together, to think about, to place about, and that's all within the space of 5-6 seconds. We saw the win that Mark got at this year's Tour de France, and it's just that little look across to the left. It's like a tenth of a second that he looks, but it makes a huge difference. But he'll remember those looks. He'll remember the gears that he was in when he was jumping, all that kind of stuff. And it's incredible that he does remember it, and especially when there's 35 of them to remember.
Yeah, it's a remarkable part of his psychology. It really intrigues me with Mark, and we've seen him, on social media taken to a Rubik's Cube and video games and Lego, yeah, and it's that again intrigues me as to what a part that plays in so many of his victories, the capacity to be able to remember all these little infinite details, which I think will make a huge difference in the final. I've only won a couple of bike races in my time, and I can't remember anything like that. So I think it's just part of the puzzle that makes it so successful.
Well, they've been in back to base at the moment, just deciding on how to take on the remainder of the day. And as you can see, it's all down on tomorrow, Dennis.
Tomorrow, the second longest stage, 211 kilometres, so one of the most challenging stages, 4,350 metres of elevation, but it's the last 50 kilometres which is fully downhill, 4 categorised time and over seconds up to grab. So one of those days that the GC riders would have highlighted. So yeah, we're in for a forecast.
Feels polished. I wonder when he passes someone who's just watching telly. What's that occasionally? I'm always fearful that he's going to start the end of the season, to be honest. But yeah, he stays safe, thank goodness. Amazing by the team.
Bringing Germay back to the bench. A very welcome back to the Virginia way at the break. There was a sit down at the end of last season with Andre Marchais and Kenyon Germay and his team, Adam. After that superb breakthrough in 2022, there was the winning kick, there was in the Giro d'Italia.
Iingay sila sa uhul ganun daw.
That was a special day.
It was a special day, and I think also being Van der Poel in the way that he did there, it was
Umuhul lang. Iingay
I think what was referring to there is Van der Poel came and he just put his thumb up towards Vinny Gamay, and it was that sign of respect, that sign of from one of the best riders we've ever just watched in bike racing, put his thumb out to someone and sort of say respect. I think that enhanced that win massively and showed how impressive it was. And he's had a couple of quiet years after that, really, didn't he? He's not been like he is now. And I forget whether we expected so much from him all the time. And really came in, scratched out, and he has just come back. Well, it's safe to say the best form of his life.
Well, they did sit down at the end of last season and tried to sort of reset and restart. They wanted to shake up his coaching, his training. Of course, it's a long way from Eritrea to come to racing, so when he was coming over, he was staying in hotels in Belgium and training the odd day between travelling across Europe to racing. So what they're trying to do this time, according to reports from the Flemish press, those parties agreed things didn't work well in 2023. So they've been trying to get him a home in Flanders, not too far from Leuven now, which is a part of Belgium you know well as well. He's coached by a man who doesn't live far. I remember the former rider Frederick Verkelen. He coached with Finland Good Mile. This is a change of bike here for Oliver Marker. Another man who's been the king of Belgium before he's been the Belgian champion.
Malungkit, ano? Pag-inahin.
Felt away from home, where he's staying in hotels. So he's in a house in Leuven so he can spend
Bagay, masarap lang din.
hours in Europe, let's say during the classics or something
Hindi
like
na
that.
kung ano.
Regular training. Plus, when he's been training at home in Eritrea, which he also wanting to carry on doing, one, because he has a young family, two, because it's altitude training. And they've sent riders to go and stay with him. Lane Tarame actually went and did an extended camp earlier in the season. He's also got training partners as well as the local peloton, which is a very competitive bunch. He's got a few different riders on different teams in and around Asmara. It's not like he's riding on his own. But a few teammates out there as well, and it has all come together spectacularly this year with Goodmire really back at the best at this trip.
It is, yeah, and everything we just mentioned there, Rob, you know, it's just how Geraint and Luke say within their podcast, what's the period, setting the foundations, you know, and that's what it is in terms of the hotels, getting their house over in Belgium. Just so he can have his family there, you know, you have to remember they're all humans, and a happy human is generally a better human. And I think as a bike rider, you spend so much time on training camps, etc. And take the classics like you mentioned there, Rob. A lot of the riders who even live in mainland Europe, they're then forced to stay up in Belgium for 3.5 week period, doing out the suitcase. The riders from Belgium, they get to the top after the race, back straight back home, come back again 2 days before the race maybe. So the Vinian just have that opportunity to go back and have his family over and just relax and not have that big pressure of the team around you. Even when you are in the hotel, you know, you've got media come in, there's people that know they're staying outside asking for pictures all the time and all that kind of stuff. So it's hugely important for his success, I'd say, that we can do everything around him and let him have that time back in Eritrea as well.
Talking about being at home, being an altitude camp, you know, and I say that in inverted commas, it's free altitude camp because you're not having to go away and spend time away from your family to do an altitude. So that helps because Asmara, capital of Eritrea, sits at over 2,300 metres. It is the 6th highest capital city in the world and the 2nd highest in Africa after Addis Ababa. It's a great place to train. Apparently, the roads are fantastic to keep training. And there's all the climbs and roads that you have to do there.
Also, Snow's team also just messaged me there, messaged the group and just said, keep control of him as well. I think, you know, we can look into that in terms of keep control of him. It doesn't seem like a wild, hardy animal. You can get the benefit of nature pacing, you can get the benefit of massage from the strong years, everything else. It's a great decision from the team.
That's one of the first, with what confidence are you guys coming into the second week after already having a statement in the pocket?
Yes, good to such stage then, like this is already a victory on board. But we are also motivated for the next one. And we also know that today it's flat, it's something for the sprinters, and we will hope to
if you look at the run-in, it looks way more technical than the previous
Oh.
when you try to
Estimate.
explain the team.
Estimate ko 4. Ginawa ko na lang 5. Tama yan, masarap ka nga. Ano yung bibigyan ng sakto?
Yeah, you need to be,
Saka bakit?
I think in a good position in the
Bakit?
I think they're really good corners, but
Pero insulate ang gagawin mong project doon. Mamaya maputok ka ng tubo ron. May piping nga mga lalabas na may piping. Dapat yun muna, sir. Possible, sir, na may mga yung malulutong na dito pag may movement, hinugot, ibabalik. Maaaring papalitan ng... Mamaya, history ng tubo yun. Tagal na nun, malulutong na iba ron.
Hindi kasi gito, nagbabaklas sila ng Quezon pagpasok ko ron. Hanggang na iba eh.
Dapat ang recommendation doon, possible, sir, kung sakali, worst case scenario, may piping. Kasi maaaring may malulutong na tubo na doon. Hindi naman ito, sir, pag hinugot natin, tapos palit ng insulation, suwabe pa rin. Pag walang bumigay, di walang problema, sir. Pero pag may bumigay, sir, possible, mag-revive tayo. Para wala nang galawan. Sino ba ibigay ng
Serbong.
i-ano raw yun, ipasa sa loob?
Serbong nga, magkano sa akin din, nasabi. Baka si Sir Jojo eh.
Tapos ito pa, book na pala sabi pa rin sa video. Ikaw doon kasi ikaw ang matanda sa kanila. Dapat ikaw ang nagbibigay ng ano. Sir,
Hindi nga, kasi
huwag mo
nga,
maintindihin mo kung
ang hirap ng dalawa.
hindi mo kung intindihin dalawa, ikaw ang magbibigay ng command, ikaw ang magbibigay ng trabaho.
Matigas nga ang mga ulo eh. Ikaw lalagay sa katayuan ko.
Ganito nga yan. Susunod yung dalawa mo, hindi pwede wala.
Kaaway-away na nga kami dahil pinakikialaman ako ng pinakikialaman eh. Hindi ko pa ginagalaw na nila, tapos pag nasiraan sa akin ang putok eh. Kaya nagagalit na ako eh.
Hindi ganito, Bo. Ikaw ang bibigyan ng ano, ikaw ang, kumbaga sa ano, ikaw ang chief mechanic. Pwede kayo magdinis mo, pwede rin kayo mag-ano, pero darating yung time na may possible na major na. May natawag book na major works, major minor.
Ako na nga yung gumawa ng ano, inaagaw na nga eh. Nagkasama kami ng loob kanina eh.
Pwede kayo sa minor, pero yung major, wala pa naman kayo napapatunayan eh.
Ano lang si, nagkayabang nga si Tantan eh. Papakitang gila sa
Dapat tinatapat mo rin kayo, sir. Ang totoo ganito. Dala ng pakikisama ko na, sir. Hinahayaan ko lang sila. Dapat mo, yung mga 10 na yung sila.
pakisamang ano nga.
Dapat ginagano mo. Dabay pa na sarili kanina. Kumbaga, na-trap ka ng dalawa, na-trap ka, hindi ka nakapagsalita, yung dalawa yung sasalita. Paniniwala yung dalawa. Once na magsalita ka rin, paniniwala ka rin noon. Hindi ka sasalita eh. Sir, ganito, sir. Sabi ni Sir Jojo ngayon, ikaw ang matanda, ikaw ang sa kanila, ikaw ang magbibigay ng ano. Kung kailangan mag-suggest ka sa akin, isuggest mo. May time na magagalit ako, hanggang doon lang yun. Pero susunod pa na ako sa'yo, ikaw ang ano eh. Ikaw ang magbibigay ng ano, instruction. Kahit na gastos pa yung kalalabasan, sa bunganga mo manggagaling yung ano eh. Trabaho, sir. Ganun possible trabaho doon. Hindi rin pa sa linis, hindi rin pa sa lipat. Oo, nandun na tayo, gagastos ako. Pero wala rin magagawa at gagastos naman para talaga ako. Magsalita ka sa akin, sabi ni Sir Lugo. Huwag mo hindi na. Iniiwasan ko dito yung mga gastos eh. Nagtitipid nga ako. Huwag mo hindi yung tipid. Hindi naman sa'yo kung galing yung pera sa kanila eh. Kung kailangan bumili ka na ng bago, mapapadali trabaho mo. Mapapadali trabaho mo, hindi pa possible back job. Ganun ang gawin mo susunod, huwag ka na magtipid. Ba't ka magtitipid? Hindi mo naman pera yan. Sir, palitan na to sir. Kasi pag once ka repairing ko to sir, hindi ko masasabi kung ilan pa itatagal na ito. Ganun mo na, tapatin mo na sir. Pwedeng repairing to sir. Pero, puro replace na po talaga sir. Hindi natin masasabi sir, kung magkakaya ng pagkakaya ito. Ganun, tapatin mo na siya. Magagalit siya, oo. Wala rin naman din siya magagawa sa huli. Bibili pa rin daw talaga siya kung kailangan niya. Tulad ng pressure washer. Hindi niya sinasabi sa akin, siya lang parang pressure washer yung ginagamit. Ako pa rin naman ang bibili din. Oo, natural magagalit ako. Wala rin mga no choice pa rin naman ako. Bibili pa rin ako. Kung may hindi yung galit niya, dahil sa iniwasan mo magalit siya, may titimpi ka. Kaya yung mga hindi dapat. Kaya ako, kailangan ko lang bumili ganito. Ay, hindi ko rin ako magalit siya. Hindi yung galit niya. I-open mo ng totoo. Sir, ito na. Pag nirepair ko ito, possible na araw lang tatagal niya. Mamayang gabi na, magkasakit muli yan. Ingay, sige. Ako na ang mayayari sa iyo, sir. Para sa akin, sir. Palitan na natin ng pan motor yan. Gano'n na. Hindi na
15 years. And in
Bearing, pan motor, palitan mo na.
Belgium is underrated because most riders go there
Yung
at
parent,
times in
yan.
early season
Yung
races
pagkasuot mo.
when the weather's quite often poor. It's
Saka
windy, it's
kaiwas-iwas
rainy,
mo
it's
sa
cold, you're
expensive.
riding rough roads,
Pagod
cobbles.
siya.
They're like,
Ay, sa
oh,
dalawa.
they sort of get
Tinapik-tapik ko kasi Ryan kanina kada niliwas mo. Ayaw kong
You've got to go back
minit.
there.
Sabi ko,
But
ay,
you live there all the time.
pag-usapan
You
niya,
choose
ayusin
the
niya.
roads you ride on and you get
Kasi
nice
magkakasama
days of
kayo.
weather
Oh,
like
Gis,
you
ako
do
bala
in
dito.
southern England.
Alam ko naman maayos.
Through most of the year, it's really quite pleasant.
Yung
There's
anuhan,
also absolute cycling
ito tanda ko may
mecca.
gito sa lahat ng
There's its
pagkakataon.
pros and cons as well.
Kapapaya niya yung mga yun. Ano man na mangyari, paniniwalaan na yun. Kaya huwag kang papogi. Kaya kung una ka lang na magsalita ka at tatamaan yung dalawa, magsalita ka na. Huwag yung pagtakpan. Bumabangot bumagaw habang tumatagal.
Habang tumatagal mo, nakakasungay na, pati nga ako, nakapakan na. Una, pag silang gumawa, patay, naalsahan na ako ng boses ni Tantan.
Hindi ako nahangga ito salita. Ang tapatin mo ito. Makaasta kayo, parang mga technician na talaga. Totoong technician na, gano'n mo. O sige, pwede yung galawin yan, karapatan yan. Pero magkasundo tayo ha. Ano naman maging problema niyan? Maglagbo ka na kasi.
Kaya nga magsasarili na kami. Sinabi niya kanina,
Hindi, maglagbo ka na. Kasi,
sabi niya kanina, kung sino yung gagawa niya, isulat niyo kayong gumawa
oo
niya.
yung maglagbo kaya.
Para
Kasi,
malaman niya, para pag nagtanong ako, ganyan ang sagot.
tulad yung hinahanap kanina, eh si ano, tinatanong ko si Ryan. Ano problema rin sabihin? Eh kasi ginawa ng buko yung repair niya, tapos kapag namin siya, hindi pa rin nire-repair. Bunga nga lang kasi, walang patunay. Maglagbo kayo.
Pero hindi ko mga nagagalaw, ginagalaw ng Tantan.
Ano ba dyan? Papel na yun sa lahat nito.
Kaya nga, buti nga,
Tunayan na ginawa nila yan.
yun nga, wala akong laban eh. Pag nagkamali yung repair, sa akin tiyatawanan nila ako eh.
Parang wala kasing bibigay.
Pero sila ang may gawa, karamihan. Sila naagaw na nila ng trabaho.
Maglagbo ka po, unang-una. Alimbawa, ako technician. Helper ko itong dalawang to.